Yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome to the kitchen. I never know how to come out of that. I'm never quite sure what to do other than to say, welcome to the kitchen. Welcome into the kitchen. If I look through my looking glass, I see Andy and I see Ray. What was that show? What was that?
Romper Room.
Romper Room. That's what it was. Mike is here and Ray is here. Fred, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Good to see you here. And let's see, Jonas is here, the man of the hour. How are you, sir?
You know, I just realized I still had to pull my mic up
You
there, but
needed your mic. Yeah.
good. Huh?
Good to have
A
you.
little tired from all the travel, but
Yes. I want to hear about all that travel. Congratulations, though, on the launch. This is exciting. It's good stuff. And let's see, I said hi to Andy, and Dan is here, and Fred, and Hasmuk is here. Hello, Hasmuk, and John Drinkwater. Look at this esteemed group of people here. Susan Hoskins, welcome. Where is Susan? I don't see you here. Why don't I see you? It says that you, oh, she's gone. She disappeared. Oh, no, it's Ron. It's Ron. It's all Ron's fault. Hi, Ron. And I think that's everyone so far. All right. So, a couple of weeks ago, maybe, we played around with, were introduced to spacecoms.io. And since then, just a few things have happened. It is now officially launched, and it is also officially a Zoom app on the Zoom app marketplace. And so that's really what we wanted to dive into today. And so we asked Jonas to join us to talk a little bit about SpaceComs, how it works, what it is, but then specifically for those of us who are living in the Zoomiverse, how do we use this in Zoom? What does it look like? We're gonna play around with it a little bit. A quick hello to Robert on YouTube, who's watching out there. Let me see if anyone else is there. Right now, oh, and Tony is here. Hello, Tony. Good to see you. Da meters are here. All right. So Jonas, maybe why don't we start with what for those who didn't see before, what is Space Comms? What problem is it trying to solve? And we'll start there.
yes. So thanks for having me. Space Comms has come out of the frustration for the current comms ecosystem that often has a lot of issues for remote and cloud production. If you know certain different intercoms that start with U, I've grown frustrated with a lack of certain features. And one of the issues that we have is we do a lot of corporate work. So we do all hands calls and all that kind of things for Fortune 500 companies. And one of the things that we often run into with that is they are not allowed to install anything. Most of the time we work with an internal producer team, which is great. We don't have to do any of the producing. But then there's always the question, how do we communicate with each other? That is kind of the one part. So that's where SpaceComms is coming from. The idea is it's a browser-based comm system that is built for live video and broadcast, and specifically with like the virtual production in mind, remote cloud production. One of the big things is we want to help with that part of comms. We're acutely aware that we're not going to replace Riedel or Bolero on site. So like more of the professional intercoms, but we're trying to be an extension of that when you need to do remote. But one of the other issues or opportunities that we saw when we started looking into this is, I'm sure this group knows of Zoom ISO and Zoom tiles and Zoom rooms and all of those kind of things that Andy and his team build. And what's really great is that they allow you to take a source and bring the isolated feeds out. So you can get all the ISO audio. That way you don't have to separate people into different breakout rooms and you can have a really nice flowing conversation. The problem with that is that now, how do you give talk back? I'll give a quick example. For example, we have a panel with one moderator and 3 panelists. One of the panelists drop. How do you now communicate to the moderator? You know what? Just go on, don't mention it. We know he'll be back in 30 seconds. Or, hey, it looks like he just got severe weather. He won't be back. Say that we'll get his answers later or something like that. You can't, because what we do is we tie the existing comm system into Zoom and we can speak into those stages. But that is to everyone. It won't be heard in stream, but still everyone, and especially with untrained talent. And most of the time when you do these kind of events, you have untrained talent. They are not really good at continue to not say anything, notice anything when there's someone talking at them. That's
by the way, just as case in point, if I had a back channel comms right now, I might say something like, Jonas, your mic is really, really low and it's hard to hear you.
No.
So that would be a really great use for space comms.
It would. And then I could just go in here and hopefully it's better now, or not yet. Okay.
About the same, actually.
Look at the meters. We're trying to hit minus 25.
Exact. Just want to make sure that we don't miss any of these golden nuggets. That's much better. Thank you so much. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No worries.
He did it on purpose, didn't he? Just to show what the use of a back channel is. What a genius.
Exactly. So now that I have that checked off my checklist, we can go on.
You dropped again, Jonas. You dropped again. Something is happening.
Let's see. Okay. 1 second.
While he's doing this, I'll just say that in the Zoom world, the only way to have back channel conversations is either to go out, use a third party, or to use Zoom chat. And I've tried to use Zoom chat, unless you decide ahead of time that that is going to be your mode of communication. I find that many people don't see it. It does, I don't know, the pop-up doesn't get their attention or whatever. And if the chat is busy, you'll miss it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's see. How is that?
It's glorious.
You're peaking a little bit, Jonas.
Let's see how long this stays good.
And wow, and now you're like gone completely. This is wild. This is so interesting. What do you think this is? Do you think this is auto gain?
It's actually best if you keep talking while you're adjusting and watching the meter.
So this is me.
There you go.
It's way too loud now.
No, it's in and out.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out. It could be, is he adjusting it on a third-party app, or is he actually doing it in Zoom?
This is great. This is happening here, though. Or Andy says, or have a second Zoom meeting just for comms. So one ear in each meeting?
Right, but you don't get the direct chat like you would. You can't do a direct talk to somebody.
Right.
Okay, let's see how this is now. Now I'm way too hot, and now maybe it's gonna stay there.
Oh, you jumped up again.
It sounds like you have something like a gate, because it starts loud and then gets much quieter after a second or something.
This is when the client says, it's not going to happen this way during the show, is it? How many, raise your hand if you've heard that.
Yeah. You know what would scare me, Andy, about having a second Zoom meeting? I would be worried that I would forget if I'm on screen, because I'm very often, I'm not only behind the scenes, I'm also on. I would be afraid that I would be talking to someone over there and forget to mute here or be seen over there or.
Totally. Yeah.
While we're waiting on this, what's really sad is all these programs. I'm guessing you're using Ecamm or something. Is they not the manufacturers of these programs are not taking care of lip sync. So we're having the same issue right now down with my son's live show where they just dropped in a new routing switcher that takes everything to 2110 and back, and a new Sony switcher, and we go and we measure it, all these individual pieces, and none of them are in sync, the audio and video. The manufacturers are not paying attention to this. Every piece of equipment should be 0 time when it goes in and 0 time when it comes out, and nobody's paying attention to it. And it's causing us to have to put a frame sync or something on the back end to take the entire path and make sure that it's good from end to end. So I spent all day yesterday with the engineer down there, making sure that all 4 of our scenarios because we have different scenarios to punch up on the router as we pass through to the TV station. And we had to make sure all 4 of those scenarios were all lined up. And then we sent a clip to the truck, and we're now promoting that the truck has to make the alignment instead of us. That way it's good coming into us, and it will be good leaving us, and we're not trying to futz with it in the middle someplace.
It's interesting because all these tools have something in, they have ways to delay, and Ecamm has that, Rodecaster has that.
Yeah, but your lip sync is always off.
Yeah, for the life of me, I can never, well, no, today it's really off though.
Today it's off. And I have another meeting I do on Wednesdays with my friend Jan Landy, sound broker. And as soon as the other day, for whatever reason, he cut to a side camera and his lip sync was perfect.
Yeah.
And I said, you're not running that camera through Ecamm, are you? He goes, nope. Oh, well, there you go.
So let's see. How is that now?
No, it's still gating. It got really loud when you first started talking, then it went down.
Hey, Mike, I'm going to pass host to you for a second so I can reboot this guy because the sync is, now that I'm seeing it, is driving me crazy too.
Go ahead, David. No problem. Yeah,
Let's
so
try
Fred,
this microphone instead. How is that?
That's
yes.
very good.
It's better. It's more consistent. It's not jumping up and down.
Simple is always better.
It's interesting because it's not like I just spent an hour on another show with exactly the same setup. So, but it's interesting. So I'm using an Elgato XLR dock, which for some reason has decided that it's really cool to allow Zoom to change the gain of it. And Zoom thinks it's just changing the input volume. So when Zoom thinks it's too loud, it changes that down. And there's a setting somewhere to disable other devices being able to change it. But of course, right now I am unable to find that. But if this is acceptable, I will continue like this.
Yeah.
Very consistent.
Yeah,
So
you're consistent now, and you match everybody else. It's great.
the problem with back channel communications is, yes, you could use a second Zoom meeting. Most people can't open 2. You still don't have directs. Chat often is not that great. And then it also raises the problem of, especially for smaller production companies that don't have like a specific talent producer, now one of your people needs to stop doing what they're doing to type something or to unmute in the other thing and all of that. So that is why we created Space Comms. And what I'm gonna do is I am gonna go here. And this is the admin side, and we're just gonna create a new space. You type in the name, you click check, checks if your space is still available. And there we go. Now we have an empty space. One of the advantages of Spacecoms is we know how painful it is when productions grow, that like you need to click every single checkbox for every single user. So what we do is we create a group first. So let's say we have a client group. I like to make that one red just because, and then I have an internal group that is all my team, and then maybe I have an external group that is a couple freelancers that I hired. Now I can create channels. So I have an editorial. That is where like the client can talk to my team. Then I have a production channel. That is where my team and all the freelancers communicate. And maybe we have an audio channel. What you can, and in the audio channel, the other team can listen, but I don't want them to talk there. And then I have a backend channel, and that's where we talk about the real issues that nobody should know about.
And the
So
client.
now, and the client. So now I have 4 channels, 3 groups. For those of you wondering, no, it's not limited to 6 channels. There is no arbitrary limit on the amount of channels you can have. And then I can generate some members here. It's just a password. I then can click copy details and send that to people. Just gonna create a couple things here. And then, so now I can say, oh, this is the client. I'm internal, and here's external, and then this determines what you can see. The other thing where then the SUMAP comes in is you can create talent links. So this would be talent pin 1. And one thing that's not yet rolled out that we're gonna change as soon as possible is that right now this name is what shows up in your interface, but we're gonna change it so that when your talent joins, they can say their name, or we just steal their Zoom name and put it there alternatively. And here you then can decide who can talk to them. So I only want my internal people to talk to them, and
Jonas,
maybe the client gets to talk to this person.
What's the section above? What is that called? Above talent links?
Members.
What's the difference between members and talent links?
So members, they will get an interface that looks like this. That is, and this is a little overboard, but you can create as many channels as you want. I can talk, can listen, I can change the volume per channel. And members is the full-blown talk and listen experience. I have all my talent channels here that I can talk to and listen to what others are saying there. And then let me show you the talent experience. So if we go back here, and now I am just gonna go to my Zoom Test Kitchen demo. I can say, copy this talent link, and if I open that in here, you're gonna see it's a simple interface. You just space name and your talent code, you hit enter. And all you get to see here is now a volume slider, so you can also change your volume, and a disconnect button. And here it's gonna say, if this is talent 1, I'm gonna talk into here real quick with my mic. And you're gonna see it changes there who is currently speaking. So you know who you're talking
Talent
to.
links are listen only.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And now this is kind of the basic idea. One other thing that was really important to us is this is not the right tab for that. It's also, I already saw it in chat, how much does it cost and how flexible is billing? What you will see is you can add weekly, monthly, and yearly members, and you pay per member per time. So like weekly, you pay $4 per member. Monthly, you pay $8, and then yearly is 95. This is excluding tax. Depends on all the local tax laws. And then, but what was really important to us is that you can cancel at any time and you can have multiple of those. So what I would say is for most people, it makes sense to have 2, 3 yearly. That's your staff that you know they're always going to be there. And then you have a big event, probably need a couple more licenses monthly for that. And then on the day of show, we all know the, oh, by the way, requests from the client that is like, oh, by the way, we brought those 2 internal producers in. Can they also get comms access? Don't want you needing to add a whole month to it. You can just add 2 more people weekly, and you can have as many subscriptions as you want, and then just cancel them when you don't need them anymore.
So when you say it's per member, so that's not the talent. This is, I got a little confused about this piece. So that's not the talent links one. So I could have however many talent who can listen to my comms. But yeah, Matt is asking this in the YouTube chat. I can have as many talent folks for free listen to my comms. It's only people who need to talk that need a license. Is that right?
At this point in time, yes.
Okay.
To be totally honest, this is a hosted service and not like something that we give you to run on your own servers. So we have bandwidth costs and all that, but now we're not wanting to charge for talents. We'll see how usage patterns are and if we need to change that to be sustainable. But at this point in time, no, it's simple. How many members do you have? And that's it. And that is because the talent, since they are not talking, there's a much less bandwidth incurred on them. And one advantage of this as well is we are matrixless. So what we do is we connect everybody together, and then we switch on your device the volume and everything. So if you worked with traditional remote comms, you probably know this problem of you need to push the button, wait for a second, and then talk, not with space comms. Because what we do is while you push the button, we then not only start transmitting your audio, but we're also sending with the same audio, with the same stream that your audio goes with. We're telling everybody else, hey, I am talking on this channel. And since at the same time that you start talking, everybody else is like, oh, I should start listening to them. You don't have that issue. The last thing I'll say is if you go to spacecoms.io right now, everybody can log in. You get two members for free. So you can test it out, and then you can add as many members as you need. Up to 100 is what we officially support right now. If you go above 20 is probably when you should send me a message first, just so we make sure that it works all for you. We also have a companion module, and everything is documented here. So the companion module right now only works on the same device. If Spacecoms and Companion is on the same device, then you can simply have a mute button, talk, listen per PL. We have the Zoom app that I'm gonna finish on. Program mode allows you in the settings to disable all of our processing. And we enable a higher quality audio feed and enable stereo. That's perfect for sending your program feed to all your remote people. You can also have multiple of those. That way you get a really high and nice quality. Panel API, like I said, is how Companion integrates. We are planning for the desktop app. You can have Companion run somewhere else. And if there's any questions, there's always support that you can reach out to. Yeah. And now the hardest part to demo, the Zoom app. Let's see, who is host here right now? Mike, could you make me host? Gonna take this all over.
Yeah, this is dangerous. We're living on the edge here. By the way, I didn't realize, I see it now in my own account. that you get 2 free members. Is that something you all hope to be able to continue, or is that just for? That's fantastic.
One of the things is that, like, since we don't like just connect you to a central place and then mix it there, our bandwidth cost grows exponentially with people in theory. But we're doing some management of that, because like if you have 100 people, I really hope you don't have 100 people talking at the same time to 100 people listening on comms.
Yeah.
So what's really important about the Zoom app is that we wanted to make it super simple, especially for corporate users, because it is a pain to get them to approve anything. So the cool thing is only you as the producer have to add the SpaceComms app. And then if you load it, it's going to detect that you're host. At this point in time, we're only supporting host, not co-host. We are working on adding that, but at that point you need to sync between multiple clients, and we wanted to get it out and get the feedback of the community first. And then what you do is you go back into the admin portal. I'm going to go into the demo here. You're going to grab your talent link off code. And the reason why that is not like just logging in is you can give this to a producer and they don't have access to the whole space, and then you use your space name.
We just take a step back because we can't see what you're doing. So you opened the Zoom app.
Let me go back.
Sorry about that.
So what's really great is that you don't need anything else as the producer. You just need to add this app. And then your talents, we use something called guest mode. So it doesn't require any additional permissions from the corporate, from the Zoom tenant admin. You add it, and normally this all would be empty. And then you go into your admin, and then down here you have a talent off code. So it's kind of like an API key. So you paste it in here and you click enter. What is now going to happen is that you see all the people that are in here. And what I can do is I can, for example, invite Mike now. I can invite Ray, can invite Dan. And what they're going to see on their screen pop up is like, hey, Jonas invited you to use this app. But the great thing is that they don't need to install the app. They don't need to do anything. All they have to do is they need to click on accept and open the app. So if one of those persons opens the app, they show up down here. And then all of those talents that I created, I can now select. So now I can patch who is where. Like I said earlier, we're still working on that. If you put Dan on talent 1 in our backend, it also updates. So like I'm going to put Mike on 1, Dan on 4, Jack on 3, Andrew Dolly on 10. And now on their side, and this is the hard part to demo, because of course now you can't see their side. What you would see is that they have the Zoom app open and it says you're assigned here. And if I go back into Spaces, say I want to enter the space, and I am going to grab my test credentials. And one thing to really note, I like to say, is we don't actually know your passwords, because we use the typical procedure where we don't know your password, we just check it again. So I can't, like, if you forget your password, you need to ask your admin to reset it. So now if
Jonas,
I talk...
I'm following along with you. How did you get the list of participants in the app? That kind of happened a little magically, and I think I missed that.
That was that specific version of the app that I ended up running, having a small little bug that I had to press another button for.
Okay, because I'm in the app now and I don't see the participants in the Zoom
So
app.
what you will see in
but
the
I'm
Zoom
not
app,
host. That's why.
exactly.
Sorry. Okay, gotcha.
And one additional thing to be aware of is, for example, now in theory, Mike should hear me twice because I'm talking into two microphones into Talent 1. Two caveats to be aware of here is on macOS, it's gonna use the same speaker output that you have selected in Zoom. On Windows, it's gonna be the default audio device. This always destroys my demos if I'm in a room with a lot of other AV people because they don't use their default audio and then they're like, oh, it doesn't work. On Windows, you need to make sure that you listen to your default audio device. At this point in time, that is sadly a limitation due to how Zoom sandboxes the apps. But yeah, this is the basics about space comms. And I'll say that now, if anyone ever has a question, feel free to reach out to me, or if you don't know if it's right for you and you need more users to actually figure that out, feel free to ping me. We're very generous right now with demo licenses, and yeah.
Fantastic. So I wonder if there's a way for us to show what the experience is like. Can you pass host to me, Jonas?
Jack is showing it.
Jack is showing it? Who? What?
Yep.
Yeah, I've got it on mine.
Oh, hello.
Well, and I destroyed it all. That was clever. There we go. So now Jack is in there as Talent 3, and I'm going to talk into Talent 3, and then Jack is going to see, hey, Jonas is talking to me, and he's going to hear me twice, which is super awesome. Yeah.
So it shows up on the right there as a, okay.
But what you also can do, Jack, can you click on the little pop-out screen on the top right? So you can pop it out and move it wherever you want.
Right. Right, like all apps, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone put in the chat, which it was a really interesting idea, about a way for talent only to give you feedback. You know, like a little thumbs up, like message received, or something like that.
And I know how you can do it as well, David.
I'm sorry?
I know how it could be done now as well. You could just have a couple of little icons in the app section with a thumbs up and a thumbs down, and they could just click on those as a response.
I am taking notes right now because that sounds great.
And as a fellow developer, I'd like to congratulate you on doing proper security and not having to grab all the information from everybody everywhere, as certain apps do. So thank you for that.
One thing I'll also say is it is amazing the support that Andy has given us with this app. And it also was kind of cool to see how thorough the Zoom marketplace team is in testing our app. Because I sat in the backend and saw the logs coming. I'm like, they really tried to get in there and like make sure that we are not doing nefarious stuff. So I have been properly impressed with that.
Wow. Hasmuk, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm on my phone. So everybody knows I had my medical event last week. We held a post-mortem on Monday, and a whole lot of issues came out. And the common theme was we needed comms. Without comms, we were just not being effective and efficient. So, Jonas, my question to you is: the setup was everybody's in a meeting, and 5 of my staff were also in the meeting, and we had one producer. How would you integrate space comms in that? And it seems like we need to use the Zoom app to achieve that.
So the Zoom app is only there for your talent, for your speakers. All your team should be on space comms so they can talk back to you. You have all your back channels, so that way, like, if there's an audio problem, you can only talk to an audio problem, and all of that. Talent is super simple. That's why we don't use the mic. We don't request any permissions. It just works, and you don't need to worry about that as the talent. So, like, I'll say the bad T word is you have to use Microsoft Teams. You could use the talent link just in a browser and send that to them.
So the configuration is that you set up your space comms, you allocate the roles, and then each of the individuals, do they listen to space comms on a browser on their workstation? Is that the idea?
At this point in time, yes, they would listen to it on a browser. We are working on native apps both for Windows, Mac OS, iOS, and Android, and a Thai client. Yeah.
So one would need to configure the audio chains by using something like loopback or something.
You could, but like also you don't need anything. You can just if I go. That being said, please don't use space comms with Safari. Safari is missing some crucial features that any other web browser has. Not that I'm bitter. Someday they'll catch up. You have the microphone where you can select any of the microphones, and then you also have speakers. If you don't see that, we have built it in a way where if we don't get the permission or your browser doesn't support the feature that we need to allow you to select the speaker, we will hide it and we'll just use the default or disable your mic. So you still have a experience. So that is just one thing to be aware of.
That's really cool. We're quite excited. We watched your launch video, and my sound engineer has been actually testing this all day today and yesterday. So thank you so much.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, this is coming from us needing this as well. Like, we really saw, John Barker and I, we really saw the need for this, and I am glad that I have someone with John Barker. I have someone who like just knows how to build good apps, and I can not worry about making it look pretty. So yeah, I will also put in the chat the Zoom Marketplace listing where you can add it. There's no extra cost for the Zoom app, and yeah.
If you just search Zoom, you'll find. I did it right before we jumped on. It took 3 seconds to install.
So I have a confession to make. Jonas brought me into the beta program probably many months ago, Jonas. So now it's time to integrate it and use it and buy licenses.
There you go. Go ahead, Ray.
So with the cell phone, though, I can sign on with I can have a browser on my cell phone and still hear it that way. And if I'm walking around, right?
Yes, with the one caveat that if you lock your phone, depending of if you are on an Android or some other device, Android is relatively fine with it. On iOS, we're running into issues where it will mute the audio as soon as you, as soon as you have it locked. So that's why we're working on a native app. That's probably still gonna take some time because I want to get that right. We want to like be able to communicate the state that you're in well to your teammates, because there's nothing worse than people using their phones for comms, getting a call, and neither them or anybody else realizes that they dropped off. So like, there's a lot of work for us still to do there, and we want to get it right because this is crucial. Like, for your event, communication is one of the most crucial things. That's why we've been in beta for, I think, over 8 months now. I know that Office House has been banging on it pretty hard every Sunday with 10 to 20 people. So yeah, a lot of good feedback during the beta, but that's why we're taking it a bit slow, but also really looking forward to feedback and yeah, hearing what people need.
Ray, did you want to jump in or? No? Okay. So I have a question. To be honest, I think I'm a little dense. Can I, so this is, oh, here, let me do it this way, actually. So this is I'm in my little account here.
Mm-hmm.
And up at the top, I set this up a while ago, so forgive me, I don't even remember. But so this is a channel. Up here, these are channels up at the top there, right? Let me get this.
So talent and backend is both a channel, and then moderators and co-hosts, that is the group.
And so I want my co-hosts to be able to speak to the talent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it doesn't really make sense to have talent as a channel, does it? Well, so where does, what is, if I make a channel called talent up here, what's the connection between that and this down here?
So that is the one thing that I admit is a little confusing right now. There's no connection, because those talent links down there, what happens is you select who can talk to who down here. So like right now, the only person that can be talked to is me, and only moderators can talk to the talent link of me.
And only moderators can talk to you.
Because only moderators are enabled to talk to me.
Right.
So yes, the talent channel has nothing to do with that.
So so I'm going to delete that because that doesn't make any sense. So I'll just leave it back end. I'll just have one channel. That's fine for now because I'm a simple guy. So I want moderators to be able to talk and listen to each other, but I want co-hosts to just be able to listen. And then down here under talent links, I say, okay, I want moderators to be able to speak to all of my talent.
Yep.
I'm not really sure why I'd have moderators. I understand this what I've chosen here doesn't make a lot of sense, but so then when I set this up in Zoom, do all the names populate under talent links?
So
people.
So at this point, it's a two-step process, and we're working on syncing those names, like you said. Because what we want to do is that the first step is you set up all your IFBs, and in the past you used names there, and still right now, but that is what I'll be working on next week and over the weekend, that you say IFB1 or pin 1, pin 2, pin 3, pin 4. And then what we're working on that it doesn't do right now is that it then, when you assign them in Zoom, that then we grab the name from Zoom. But like right now, I can show you mine.
But I would get, as I add people in the Zoom app, they would show up in, I don't care what their names are, but they would show up under talent links.
No, it's the other way around. All the talent links you create show up in Zoom.
So when I click show talent auth code, I copy that, I come over to Zoom, I put that in, Zoom automatically gets the names of all the folks, and I can then add them as talent.
No, so it's
Sorry.
So what you do is you create your talent links. Let's say I have 10 talents. What I would do personally is I would say like pin 1, stage A, pin 1, stage A, pin 2. That way I have my 2 different stages and all that. Then I say who can talk to them. And then I am gonna invite some people again to use it. And then it shows you all the participants here. The reason why we show you the participants here again is so that you can click invite that in the backend, sends that specific app request for them to be able to open the app without needing to download it.
Right.
And then
So go ahead and click on someone.
I'm gonna click on myself.
So now what happened?
I can show you what happens on the other side.
Yeah.
So now on the other side, come on, Mac, hide the thing. There we go. So now on the other side, I got a chat message that says, Jonas asked you to open that. I can click open. And now,
What I'm curious about though is what in
now the
your
app is open.
in space.
So now in here it says assign participants, and here I see all the talent links I created.
You have to create talent slots ahead of time. Okay, thank you. I understand now. Gotcha.
So now I can say this is talent 10, and then
Gotcha.
this is gonna reload.
You should probably just set up a bunch of talent links just so that you have them. And just keep them there. Gotcha. It's interesting.
And the reason why we need to do it this way, which like I admit is kind of like a round way, is because you set the permissions who can talk to who first in space comms, and then you set up. So for example, if I have a stage A producer and a stage B producer, I always like to limit people's reach, and I always like to say not because I don't trust them, but because I want to set them up for success. And the less I give them opportunities to fail, the better for them.
It's interesting that just a thought. I mean, I wonder if when shipping this, you should just ship it with some talent links already made and then just let people rename them, since you need those anyway, but in order to, I don't know.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that like having a default space is one of the ideas, right. Or like you see, like now you have talent 1, 2, 3. The idea is that what then shows up in the actual interface, so like where you would click on talk, with changing that you can see that this is a talent 1 link, and then it would say actually who is pinned on that link.
Yep.
And then here, like forward-looking statement, I have no idea when we get to it, but my dream is that like as you pin someone in Zoom ISO or in Zoom rooms, it automatically sends them the invite and asks them to join that specific talent link. So then, you know, pin 1 is pin 1 on your panel and all that.
Cool. Fred.
Jonas, there's a question from YouTube, from Robert, watching us on YouTube in Poland. He's asking us if you could please address security concerns in a corporate environment.
Yes. So the Zoom app is listen only, so we can't exfiltrate audio that way. And the Zoom app, it should not require any ports to be opened, but that is something that we're actively working with our clients, or I'm working with our clients right now to just check, because like there's so many different ways that Fortune 100 companies are setting up their firewalls, so we want to make sure we get through them. One of the features that we haven't enabled yet, but that our engine supports, is end-to-end encryption. So then all the data would be encrypted. That being said, we don't store anything that is being said. We don't store any of the names. We don't store chat. That's all things that we don't even have access to. So, and since you can use it in a browser, that addresses most of those like needing to download and install something like you would have with Unity issues. That being said, yeah, it's something that we're actively working on, making sure that it just works in the corporate, but I am sure some IT admin will find a way to make it not work.
Yeah, and Robert has a follow-up and he's asking about browser versioning. I'm assuming at least what version of browser do you need at this point, Jonas?
At this point, as long as it's not Safari and Internet Explorer and is updated within the last year, it probably is fine. We are using an engine and core provided by a company that specializes in this to make sure that we don't need to chase all the different browser versions. That being said, yeah, we don't know of any issues of any older or newer browsers at this point in time. And we have detailed logging for all of that atomized. If there is an issue, feel free to reach out to me and I can look into all the connection stats and all that. But we're trying to make it as simple as possible from the tech side so it just works.
Excellent. All right. Fred's had his hand up. Go ahead, Fred.
I have 3 questions. First of all, the foldback program input. Is there more than one? Can you send a different program to each of the talent?
Fred, sorry, for the uninitiated amongst us, can you be so? How are we sending program back through this anyway?
So that's my question. So in my world, interruptible foldback is a foldback of the talent so they can hear themselves or hear the other people on the talent. And usually I use an aux bus in my world. I use an aux bus out of the console. See all those little knobs down there to create those. And generally, every talent gets its own mix so that I can adjust different things for different people as opposed to just creating one foldback bus and sending it to everybody. So again, the question was, how do you get the program in first of all, and are there multiples of them? That's question 1. I still have 2 more.
So at this point in time, the way that you bring program in is you create a tie member. That's what I call it. I like to call it tie. Then it opens the browser. We use VB cables or whatever form of program to get it. WDM drivers or any drivers on macOS to get it in. And then you toggle the button for program mode that disables all our like auto gaining and all that. You do raise a great point with ducking. That is something that we're still actively looking into since we can't duck like the Zoom in contrast right now or any other audio that's happening on the device. And at this point, the talent is not getting the program audio, but it is on my list to look into how to best handle that. That being said, for your crew, you can create as many program channels that you want at this point. It's just listen-only channels. When we add panning per channel, we will probably also add an easy mode where you can like pan all comms to the left and all program inputs to the right or something like that. Then there might be more. That being said, one of the number 1 priorities as well right now is a tie client that allows you to get multi-in, multi-out with hardware, so you can tie it on site systems.
Before we go on to your second question, where is program mode in here that you mentioned?
So So what you would do is you go into more setting. Forgot to mention this. One of the cool things is you can also rearrange all your PLs as a user, however you want in settings. So all of that, and then here's program mode. If you click that, that disables all the different optimizations that we normally do. It's like original audio on Zoom. And now whatever I send into this mic gets sent there. So for example, on my Mac Mini, what I do is I have black hole here, and then I just set program up to this up to talk into program. I have program mode enabled. And now in here, you see that it's talking here and I can listen to it, which is not confusing at all because now I'm listening to myself with a little bit of delay coming through Zoom. But I can change the volume of this, and the same way I have one channel like this, I could have multiple. This is kind of our workaround right now for program in and outputs.
And what you would essentially do is put that on assign all of your talent to that channel, so they don't need to be members because all they're doing is it's listen only anyway.
A talent at this point can't listen to program feeds.
Ah, okay.
What you could do is, we'll do this live. So this is the tie instance that is feeding it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in here, and we see the tie here. And what I can now say is that the tie can also talk to all of these ones. So now, and normally it updates all of the PLs, it updates, but the talent links, it doesn't yet. So now I have all of these, and I could decide that I want to send it into the talent as well.
You could send program to talent then.
That's what I just realized. Yes, you could send program to talent that way.
Because essentially it's just another channel that you can assign.
Yep.
Yeah.
What you can't do right now is like use a party line channel and send the output out of that also into the talent. That's something that we're trying to figure out. Like if you need an address that addresses all talents, right now you would need to click all the buttons.
Gotcha. Sorry, Fred. Didn't mean to butt in there.
Oh, no, absolutely. Let's see, what was my second question? Second question was only hosts can talk to talent. I'm strictly talking to IFBs and talents. Like comms, I'm sure works everywhere, but in order to talk to a talent, you have to do it from a host position, and currently there's only one host.
The only thing that hosts only can do is the assigning. So what we do is, this is the only part.
So you can assign the IFBs to any station.
Yeah. So
that was
this is
question.
only for routing the Zoom app. But what you then can see is in here, this is me, and I'm not the host or anything. I have all my talents in here, and I can talk to them. And that's what in here, this is what you select. So here you can select who can talk to what talent. Maybe this is an important CEO, and the client and internal should only be able to talk to them.
And then my last question is there an all call?
No, there is no PL that we force people to listen to at this point.
No. I mean, I want to talk to all of the talent at the same time without having to turn on all of the talk boxes and then speak.
No, and that is something that we're looking into, like how can we do an all call? The one thing that you can do is I can select all my talents, and since I'm muted here, no audio is being sent. So now I can do this, and now I hear my audio all around my room, which is a lot of fun. But yes, that is something we're still looking into. In theory, you can get like Scrappy and use Companion and like trigger all your talent PLs to talk on button press, and then on release, remove it again. But yeah, it's valid.
And right now it's not an interrupt, it's an ad.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
There's so many options here. It's
And that is like really the hard thing for us. Like,
Yeah.
we are aware that
you've made it as simple as possible. I'm the dumb.
there's two segments here. Like, there is broadcast people that want something that is built for remote, cloud, and virtual. And then there's like solo Zoom producer who now for the first time are gonna have a comm system. That's why we also priced it so affordably. And I get this question a lot. If there's discounts at this point, I can increase the price and then give discounts, but we are so as we see usage patterns, we will be able to do discounts probably, but we are really cheap per user per port, or per user per time. Comparable systems that you need to self-host that are not Unity start at like 1,000 to 5,000 per user. Sure, that's a perpetual license, but we want to make sure that it scales up and down. That being said, if there's like a NGO or something like that that really needs it, we're always happy to help and figure something out.
So Robert's actually got a question. David, go ahead.
No, I was going to say just do that, and then I want to circle back up. I have an audio question, but go ahead, Mike.
All right. So Robert's asking us. He says, when you are ready to test the platform integration with Hollyland comm systems, specifically the Solid Comm C1 Pro, no hub. I can spare time to test. If the hub is necessary, then he will get a hub. So are you familiar with the Hollyland model he's talking about? And I guess B, how it will integrate with hardware.
Yeah, so that is where our Thai client will come in. The Hollyland C1 Pro, I don't know if that has a direct way. What we know is there's there's one client who is using, I don't know what Hollyland, but that you can plug in over USB-C and it shows up as USB interface. The only sad thing is that is one of those intercoms that has an A and a B channel, and it only can expose one of those. But he was able to just tie that into space comms, say this is the on-site channel, and it just worked. That being said, I have a long list of things, but yes, that is totally, like, we are not gonna replay, like, don't want to build too much hardware, but that is definitely on our list to be able to give you an integration guide with all these on-site solutions.
Did you also want to ask Matt's question?
Oh, yes. The infamous question, Jonas. How big is your team?
I think I'm 1.80 m, and John is like 1.78 or something like that. At this point, it is John and I, but we also have a third party that is providing us with the WebRTC core, so we don't need to battle with every single browser that exists on this earth. But at this point, it's us two.
And
David,
the entire developer community.
David, I'm asking for a take two on that, please. One moment, please. Go for it.
That. I love it. All right. I have a question, Jonas. So the trickiest part for newbies when it comes to Zoom, or frankly anything, seems to be the audio. So what has your experience been with folks who are not on office hours, because they generally know how to figure it out, getting the audio routed correctly? That is to say, do you find that it's just working, that it's, that the audio from comms, if they're using an AirPod, for example, the audio from comms is automatically going to the same place that their Zoom audio is going to?
On Mac OS, yes. On Windows, it goes to the default speaker. So sometimes that requires like them changing the Windows default speaker, which is generally how most people decide what Zoom should be coming out of.
Sure.
So it's funny. I've actually found it to be less a problem with people that are not techie and don't have 5 different audio interfaces that they can seamlessly switch around and 3,500 virtual audio cables installed. Then it works, just works. Other people, you sometimes need to explain that, you need to use your...
It's a really good point. Where do we download that? John said. John, you want to ask your question? Where do we download that? And where is the app to run it all on all screens at once?
Your graphics.
My graphics?
Yeah.
Yeah, your
God.
celebration confetti.
Yeah, we all want to have a go now.
What? Yeah, okay.
Jonas has got boring suddenly. We're all sending messages to each other, whispering, saying, "Can we have these?"
Sorry. These are from what they call LGL. I'll find it for you. I just bought it. It's a
Mac only.
Yeah. Well, no. Actually, it's not. It's Luria not Luria. Yeah, Luria Pertucci. LGL. I don't remember. I'll look it up.
Live Streaming Pros.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Livestreamingpros.com, I bet. Yeah. And then under graphics, yeah, they've actually created some really nice graphics. I never use those things, to be perfectly honest with you, but and no, it's not Mac only. It works with Vim. It's a WebM overlay. That's all it is. So I will grab the link and pop it in here for you. What else, Jonas? Is there anything else that we're missing that we need to talk about?
Yes, there is something we can talk about.
With Jonas?
Well, I just want to make sure he's got my note about having the feedback buttons from the talent, but he's walked off. But there is another subject we could talk about, and that's growing excitement in the world of Zoom events.
Growing excitement?
Yeah. Would you like me to
I
start the policy now, or would you want to say bye to Jonas first?
I just haven't felt it. So
okay, all right.
Let's
Jonas, please don't forget my suggestion about having a feedback in the window on the button for the in the app. I know as a program it's going to be easy to do, and I think it will be amazing because people can just tap that and then they know they picked up the message. I will tell you a funny little story, which is why I want to give Jonas a virtual hug.
John, real quick, sorry. I just, because it's connected to what you just said. And it goes back to the pricing. Jonas, I would, I wouldn't give up on the idea that we should be paying for talent. I mean, I'm thinking about my use case. You've given me 2 free members and I have all the free talent that I can use. I never have to pay you. That's all I need. I never have to pay you. And that
Venmo.
works for you. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, if you are going to add things like that feedback button, which, John, I'm 100% with you, like, I would pay a nominal fee per year, whatever it is. You know, I just want to throw that out there.
I would agree with that as well. I think, how can we put this? We can't put this politely, so I'm going to put it rudely. Jonas, there's a big difference between free and a nominal fee. And I think if it catches on for a whole new level of people that wouldn't usually, who are not in production, it could get silly very quickly. So I would certainly suggest a nominal fee would be more respectful to you as a programmer, especially as I'm a programmer too, and I want to charge a nominal fee for my products. But yeah, I think a nominal fee would be a nominal annual fee to use the product. I think would be great value.
I think Robert said earlier that, maybe you're really talking about two different products, but two different levels. You've kind of got the standard level and the pro. The pro level is multiple members and you're paying per member. But as you said before, the solo, Zoom producer, we need a couple members, and we should be able to add members also. But the real thing, I don't know. I want to make sure you get paid. That's all.
And we're gonna probably add. Am I loud enough now?
Yeah, but we're getting that weird thing again. You were trying to go back to your mic.
My other mic died, so
well, now you're okay. Now it actually sounds okay.
I'll just try it like this, maybe.
Just eat your mic.
I'm just gonna eat it. So yes. At some point, we're gonna figure out how to also charge for talent links. The problem is at this point, I want to make it really easy for people to understand the pricing, and that's more important to me. But yes, there's this one feature that someday, like, it is super scope creepy, but I would love to have slide control buttons in there. So you could go next slide, previous slide, and all that. But that is like, talk about scope creep. We have a long list of things that we want to do already, but yeah. No, your nonverbal feedback buttons, that's a great idea. I will put that on our list and see what we can do there. And then, yeah.
Because I had the original version of this. Did you know this? I had the original talkback version. When there was the first terrible COVID happened, 6 weeks into COVID, I'd had to set up and manage from thin air a Zoom event when we only had Zoom meetings at the time for Toastmasters International. And I set it up like a TV show. So I had a big audience of everybody. And then I would bring in, using all these video clever tricks, I would bring in other meetings, which were the competitions and the speakers from everywhere else. But of course, I could only really have one event being delivered to the audience at a time. I actually had the ability to run two, but that was just going to get too complicated for Zoom, let alone me. So I only have had one. And to make it all work, I had an MC who stayed in the meeting with everybody else. So she could chat to everybody and look after them for 5 minutes while I'm going to the next Zoom event that's happening over here, having a conversation and getting ready. And so we had version 0001 of Jonas's software. It was called a broken plastic earpiece, which my MC had in her ear. And when I needed to tell her something, all I could do was whisper with direct messages in the chat. And then she would press her ear once if she said yes, and twice if she said no. And actually, there was nothing there at all. It was just a piece of plastic in her ear. So this is great.
And a lot of the times, like in broadcasts where I work with like trained talent, there's this thing that you'll see where like they look into the camera and suddenly they go, it's just a little higher and lower naughty, or like a tap, or there's this forgot how the series is called. There's a great series about a news producer, and they always use the tap twice with your pen, if you understood. So yeah, it's but it's also like I think it's great to put it right and center there, because the amount of time we've talked to talent and you're like, hey, just nod your head if you understood. And they're like, yeah, thanks, I understood that, in the middle of another conversation. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, what? Because it's so natural for humans wanting to communicate. Oh, and since Jack is adding more feature requests already, let me cut
Go
over
ahead,
here.
Jack. If you want to ask Jonas.
So I've had it set up and tried to use it with one of the shows we do online, and got everything working. Everything was great. The one thing was the ducking, and so I ended up talking to one of the talent at the same time the program was going. They're like, I can't understand you. So we switched back over to a text-based method of communication. So I would love to be able to have that text, especially because now that you've got the Zoom integration, and if it was just in that Zoom window and it popped up, because that's what I'm doing right now is I'm piping a second computer through the meeting. And so program is going through the Zoom meeting, but then I've also got a second pin basically that's just a giant notepad. And when I need to send them messages, they can see it. And so that's part of their confidence monitor. They can see it. But if you could put it into the app, that would make one less computer I got to dedicate and make it simpler and be nice.
It is on my list, and the thing that it just reminded me of, one day I'll like have a to-do list of what all I need to demo, because I just forgot to tell you, look at that, there's also a chat. The chat is global with everyone, and it's super neat for us because like you need to send around a link or something like that to the whole production. You can just do that there, and then it also shows you who all is connected.
There you see, we ask for a feature and you programs it live on air, and it's there for us now. That's what we expect in Zoom Test Kitchen.
Hey, Jonas, how does this interact or integrate with a production studio, video production studio in Zoom?
That's a great question. From a development side, we have enabled all the surfaces that exist. So as a developer, I can select in what context it can run. It can run in a meeting and a webinar. I have never been in a backstage in a webinar, nor have even opened production studio. My understanding is that it will just work.
Let me know what you want to test. I've got all of those and I can test them for you.
But a test is duly in order.
Okay.
And we have like the reason why we have all that like guest mode things in there is so you don't need any like permissions, because then you need to be logged in and all that. So we try to make it easy. Just need the Zoom app.
Fantastic. Any other thoughts for Jonas? Otherwise, we can let you go with our gratitude and we can keep plugging on. This is fantastic.
And one thing I'll say is the Stream Deck, if you like want to feel real cool, Stream Deck Studio, 3D printed these angles. So now it stands like this on my desk, and I have all my talk and listens there. It's companion integration is a lot of fun.
Wait, was there a new thing that they were announcing that what did they announce?
Pull up a picture. If we just knew someone who just was there and was able to talk to them, that would be neat, wouldn't it? So
I know a person.
It was hard to demo. We watched you try to demo it.
and here we go.
The interface that doesn't fit. I remember that one.
So they announced what working title. There's no official title yet. The PoE doc. It allows you to convert any USB-C based Stream Deck into a remote Stream Deck. So what this is, it's a tiny little box. It fits snug into the Stream Deck XL stand, and you can plug in the USB-C, and then you can power it over PoE or over USB-C But the really cool thing is,
I think you should go back to your other headset. To
Yeah, we can't hear you at all.
It's coming and going and up and down and distorted and then not there. And
It's not nearly as exciting as I thought it was going to be.
and the meters have stopped working for whoever's in charge of the meters.
Oh, that's me.
instead, I'm just gonna do it like this again. Is that way too loud now?
God, that's awful. I'm getting a whole bunch of install update.
There's a phone number you can call in.
The other headset he was using was working fine. That
They
microphone.
said the battery went dead.
died.
Oh, the battery went dead. Okay.
Said
It
battery
almost
went dead.
sounds like a bad connection, and Zoom is on automatic because it's swinging all over the place trying to keep up with whatever your level is.
It's the cable.
There we go. We have our meters back. Sorry about that. Add an update. Companion integration, a plastic stand. John?
Yeah, I thought that was a great product. That was nice and easy. I understood that one really quickly.
Wait, what? What are we talking about?
You had the little stands on the end. Weren't you paying attention? We had the little plastic stands on the end of the new Elgato Bigwig.
Oh, for the sorry.
Yeah, that was a good product. That was a good product plug. What he's trying to plug is the new Elgato dongle, as I'm calling it, which is a little plastic thing that goes in between the USB and the internet, so you don't have to have a computer plugged into it directly, or have lots of little micro computers as I do.
I don't
And the only technical problem is nobody could work out how to fit it in the gap behind the machine properly, and everybody kept putting it in upside down and back to front. But when these new technologies come out, it's always the simple things that make us fail, like a sound expert not being able to have a microphone that works properly. It's just the way the world works. But this gizmo is jolly useful for people who want to have a Stream Deck and it needs to be another part of the room to be convenient, but they don't want to move their entire computer over to it or have some great big USB hanging around. Long USBs are never a good idea.
No, you just have
it runs into the network.
Hanging now. I don't get it.
So can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
So the idea is that similar to how companion satellite works, you can use this to turn your normal USB-C based Stream Decks, so all of the Stream Decks that don't have a hardwired USB-A connector, into a remote controlled Stream Deck. What that means is companion or BitFocus buttons can connect to it and then talk to it over the network. The advantage of that is you don't have the limitations of your USB bus anymore, and you can put this anywhere where your network cable reaches. That is the big announcement. And then for people that like to 3D print things, what's also really cool is they announced that the modules that make the Stream Deck, you can now get those, or not now, in June, you will be able to get those without the Stream Deck around it. So there's all these people that build their own Stream Deck type things. What they do is they take a Stream Deck apart. Elgato was like, what about we save you some time and save us some time by not assembling it? So now they will sell you the Mini, the Mark II, and the XL Stream Deck modules that you can then 3D print your own interface and make it look however you want it, or bent metal.
That they haven't built more different stand options. I get all of mine off of Etsy. I don't get it. I mean, I understand that there's an innumerable number of configurations that a person could want, but they could have 4 or 5 SKUs, and I don't know. It's interesting.
But now you could get a full-on Stream Deck from Etsy that's like all integrated, looks neat, sleek, doesn't have the Elgato logo on it, and yeah.
Interesting.
So Jonas, question for me, is it basically now you don't really need a PC for the Stream Deck because it's now a satellite, right? You're paying satellite.
So kinda, it's using a different protocol, but you still need companion or bit focus buttons running somewhere.
Somewhere on the network.
Yep, but you don't need it to be attached to
A local companion
computer.
that you're running on localhost or whatever. You need
Yeah.
to make companion network ready so that, but yet this could be anywhere because it's going to have its own IP, correct?
Exactly, yeah. And one important thing to note is that contrary to the other ones, like contrary to satellite reaches out to companion. With these type of devices, companion or bit focus button reaches out to them. Like the direction of the connection has changed.
Right. And the companion team is working on, I guess they haven't gotten one of these yet, correct? To integrate into the companion, or is it going to be companion ready?
It uses the same protocol than the Stream Deck Studio does. And since the Stream Deck Studio is integrated into companion and buttons, it will already work with that. There might be some modifications, but since BitFocus is closely collaborating with Elgato on this one, I am sure they already have it in their hands. I got all my demos I got were from the BitFocus people at the Elgato booth.
Hey, speaking of that, could you show us the Stream Deck integration? I don't think did we look at that?
Sure. So
David, you're talking about with space comms? That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
The integration?
sorry. Yeah, sorry.
So and now just companion open, it's already in the main line. I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna scroll down, enable the API, and then in companion, can delete this for now. I'm gonna search for the space comms module. And now it's already connected. So now if we go, let's go to an empty page. I have presets here. I have all my things here. Those are the listens. I can now also add the talk version of this. One important thing is that this is following what you're doing here. So all of that does change as well.
I'm sorry. So when I press the listen button, that means I'm going to hear Talent One?
You're going to hear whoever is talking there. So it's the reason why this exists is in multi-operator things. I want to hear what others are saying to my talent. That's why we have the option to listen to what other people are saying there.
Gotcha.
But basically, this presses the listen and the talk buttons. We're still working on solo and volume. And then you also have presets, space comms control. You also have the mute here. So you can do that.
You in every channel.
Yeah, exactly.
But it won't. Oh, it's the mic muted. I see.
Yeah.
And that will have zero effect on your mic in Zoom.
Exactly.
Jonas, did you mention that you could, can you do the push to talk and then as soon as you release, it'll stop?
So kinda. We're still working on this, but like in theory, you can do something like this. This is a bug that I found on the weekend already, which is a lot of fun. So what you can do is you can also add a release action that then turns it off again. So you can kind of do push to talk that way, but we're still working the details out for that. And that's, I guess, is the other thing is like this. Should stop talking to all the talents. Just gonna
It'd be nice to have like a clear all button or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
So now like all of this is enabled, but I like something is on fire and I need to scream into engineering, I can click solo, or I'm talking on all these channels because they all need to hear me and I need to yell at talent one to stop spinning on their swirly chair. I can hit solo and that's push to talk.
When I've never had the need for comms before, so I'm just curious. When folks use comms in a layout like you have here, do people are they often changing who they're speaking to and who they're listening to? It feels very confusing to me.
It depends. I would say most, like a TD wouldn't. A TD would talk on prod, probably would be latched to that and just talk and listen to that. The other thing is, as engineering, I jump around a lot, but most of the time you set it up and then that is it. Then only if you need changes, you might be like, hey, like for example, you might have something like this, you listen to editorial and then something is weird and you say, hey, engineering, this is Jonas. Can you please tell me what the heck is going on and why we're not live? And then you would listen.
And the difference between hitting solo and just hitting talk is what?
So talk, now I'm talking on both, is that if I hit solo, it's only there.
So you don't have to toggle off the other one in order. Gotcha.
Yep. So the idea is, for example, I could talk here and then I could say, hey, Talent 5, stop doing that.
Gotcha. Curtis is saying, I have a simultaneous 12 separate physical room event that requires from, oh, this is a totally different question. Okay. Curtis, we will definitely ask that. I'm not sure we have the people here. We really need Robert here for this question. Well, now that I teed it up, let me just ask it. So I have a simultaneous 12 separate physical room event that requires remote English and French translation, no virtual audience, use multiple Zooms for audio or other option. Oh, well, no, maybe use Space Comms.
You could use Space Comms for that. And like one of the neat things that we are seeing people use the talent links also for, you can just put that into vMix, TriCaster, VisVector, Casper CG, whatever has an HTML input, you can just put it in there. Or it is a really neat way for people to listen to things and talk back. Otherwise, yes, you can use Zoom for that. I would then use Zoom ISO on the remote side, so you can pull out all the different interpretation channels into Dante or a hardware device. That is something that is specific to Zoom ISO. Otherwise, I would use a whole lot of breakout rooms and a bunch of normal Zoom clients that then send it into DVS or something like that. That being said, one negative why you shouldn't use Space Comms is, I don't know what Robert says about that, but I have found that interpreters also really appreciate it if you send them a video feed as well. Like, I found that it helps them get a lot more context and they just seem to like it more than just getting audio.
A lot of sense. Amazing. What else? Is there anything else, anyone? I don't want to cut. I certainly am not kicking you out, Jonas. I'm just being conscious of your time. I'm really, really grateful that you spent some time with us today.
One thing that was really cool at ISE is that Andy Carluccio was there with Zoom Rooms custom AV. That is really exciting. exciting to see. Yeah, like it's kind of fascinating when I think back to the early days of the pandemic, where I have a bunch of these cheap Lenovo tablets we needed to buy because Zoom rooms could only be controlled from a tablet, and we put VPNs on it, and now it's just so simple.
Indeed, we live in sort of amazing times. Amazing times. All right. So,
And Jonas, one question. The reason why you're using Zoom Rooms instead of Zoom ISO is because you're doing it in the cloud, right? You need PCs.
Yeah, and I find that it's easier to treat, even on-prem, it's easier to use Zoom Rooms because they are more of an appliance. Like then I have a controller and I just have that one system and I don't never need to look into the GUI. So for example, for my live streams, I used an MSO1 with a Decklink Duo 2 Mini that has 4 inner outputs. And I never logged into it. I just used a Zoom Room Pro AV controller. I boot it, plug my sources in, take my output, and I'm done. So that way, it's much more like a appliance.
Copy. That makes sense.
all right. YouTube is quiet.
Yeah. I'm actually curious on Fred, because I'm pretty sure, Fred, you probably use the ClearComs of the world, right? When it comes to your events and such. I'm curious if there's any, with comparing it to Jonas's product, if there's much differences, anything that you can bring from that, from your experience on the hardware side that Jonas maybe could incorporate on the software side?
I don't use ClearCom all that much. I'm based on a lot of the trucks I'm in is RTS. We do have
What
ClearCom
kind?
down at Cronkite. We do have ClearCom. Personally, I'm not a ClearCom fan. The one good thing about ClearCom is that it connects with Unity, and a lot of people use Unity Connect in ClearCom, and it's really easy to put on your cell phone and be remote that way. Have basically a free compact. This looks like it'd be really good for corporate events. I've done a few corporate events in my career, and I'm sure that's what a lot of you all do. This probably would be wonderful for that because you have a lot of computer screens in front of you. Unfortunately, in my industry, the only screens I see are the ones that are on that audio board right behind. So, and if you're, obviously if you're out somewhere else, you're looking at a different screen. You're doing graphics, or you're looking at, you're the video guy and you're shading cameras. So you're not going to have a reason for having something like this in front of them. But like I said, for corporate events, this looks pretty cool. Obviously, it's got some things that people want, and they're going to need niceties. I did like the solo function. That was kind of cool, where you can be talking and listening to channels, and then just be able to hit the solo button on a separate channel and not have to go turn off everything else just so that you can talk to somebody else. That was pretty cool. I like that.
I agree. That's a big one. Can I ask you a question? This isn't necessarily just about comms, but generally. So when I'm on office hours and we're using Unity, I've gone back and forth. Sometimes I have it all running through the same mix into my IFB, and other times I've had it here and then I put another AirPod in here. What's best practice when it comes to comms? If you're also listening or participating in a program, if you're talent, is best practice to have a different audio source for comms, or does it not matter?
Talent, in my world, generally talent are not on comms. Talent are on IFB. IFB is the comms. They have their live mic, usually pre-fade or someplace, or on air, where you can hear them, and then you're interrupting their foldback. That's what IFB stands for, interruptible foldback. And that it either is a full interrupt or a dim or a not. It's an add, like what his is there, and you set that parameter in the device. I do it in Atom Edit. In RTS world, You do it in the ClearCom app. In ClearCom World, you set that dip level. Usually, though, it's a full cut. So it completely cuts the foldback audio so that the person can hear it. And then it just depends on what they are. Are they a reporter and they just need a single earpiece? Are they on air talent where they're wearing real headsets with a real microphone? So again, in my world, it's a little different than corporate, but generally talent are not on comms.
So comms you're distinguishing between being able to listen to program through an IFB and comms. Am I understanding you correctly?
Yes, in my world, comms are called party lines. In Europe, they call it talkback. And in my world, I call talkback a button a talent pushes and talks offline back to the truck. In Europe, they call that a lazy. So there's all these different terms about how you are and where you are and how it all works. But yes, generally comms to me means party lines.
Thank you.
And what I'll say, David, is like, whatever makes you able to decipher where it's coming from. It's like one of the feedbacks we've gotten with Spacecoms is like, it sounds too much like Zoom. So you don't know where people are talking because we don't do like all the high pass filtering and like type sound that you normally have with something like Unity. So that's why we are also working on being able to pan it to the left or to the right. So that gives you an indication.
Unity intentionally adds filtering so that it sounds different from program?
Well, generally Unity is like a telephone. So you only get limited bandwidth.
Okay.
It's not a full range thing. So it sounds like a telephone.
Gotcha. Okay. So the problem that you have, Jonas, is that yours sounds too good.
That is the feedback that we have gotten, and I think there's worse feedback to be gotten.
Good. Huh. By the way, while we're in a lull, don't forget to pass host back to Mike, so that if you decide to leave,
End it all right now.
That's right.
I just wrote this app to take this all over.
Drive us into the ground here.
It is pretty amazing to show how Zoom shows how good or bad somebody's microphone is. However, I actually had to attend a session the other day. We had an all-employee meeting, and I had to basically be the person that muted and unmuted microphones in the room. And listening to people that were coming in on the Zoom there were people I couldn't even understand. Their microphones were so bad. So it really shows you the quality difference between different people's microphones.
So just changing subjects, did anyone else, I'm probably the only idiot who actually subscribes, but whoever subscribes to the Zoom updates and all that stuff, they had something weird going on this week. Like they sent out, I got 2 emails about updates, and there are no updates. There was just nothing. Let me pull up. Let me find the email here. Just so I don't forget, Jonas, thank you again so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here.
Zoom event, Dave, Zoom customer. Here we go. Okay. So there's nothing really to see here, which is why I'm not. It says a new version, release notes for Zoom Workplace app has been published on February 6th. So I got this yesterday. I thought I got this today, but I got this yesterday, I guess. And when I click on it, it's loading. I get this. There's nothing here. So I don't quite know what happened.
It is kind of weird because usually when
they have to be scheduled.
Say that one
That
more
means
time.
that it's been scheduled and they decided not to do it, or for some reason they've withdrawn it.
Right.
Because they do have an internal database of when they're expecting to release stuff, and they don't tell us what it is, but that's where it starts from.
Yep.
I've found lately that when I launch Zoom, if there's an update, it'll automatically update before it actually starts the meeting.
I found that also. Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't even, if there's a new update, you'll just get it when you turn on Zoom.
Yep. If I wonder though, if you're on the fast, isn't there a right? You can choose in Zoom, can't you? Like fast updates or slow updates or something. I remember a long time ago.
Maybe that's what I did. Maybe I was in my account and I changed something to where I get that update. So anytime I launch Zoom, if there's been an update, it's the first thing it does is, hey, there's a new version. Do you want to install it? And of course I say yes.
Right. So here is in your settings under General. You've got automatically keep the Zoom workplace up to date, and then you have your update channel: fast, slow, or kill me now. No, fast or slow. So that's where. So if you have this checked, then presumably when you just open, it will update it for you. All right, Mike.
Yes, sir.
I don't know.
Mr. John and I were informed of some Zoom events related information.
Oh, wait. Yeah, John.
Wait, John.
Got all excited about Zoom events, and then we skipped over it, and I don't really understand why, because I don't get it.
Okay. This is the safe harbor declaration of Kitchen, which is, we're going to talk about some stuff which might happen, might not happen, but they said it would happen, and hopefully it will happen. The end. All right, so let's just give that context, if I may. Some of you will know, and there are many deniers out there, that there is a version of Zoom events called SimuLive. And SimuLive is for people that do the same content over and over again, many events. And what this allows them to do with SimuLive is to record the first version of their fantastic presentation and then ask Zoom to play that recording for them for each subsequent version. So instead of having to do the same presentation over and over again and then start to forget things because you can't remember how many times you said the same thing over and over again, you just record it once and Zoom plays that recording for you. So it's called SimuLive, and it's a part of Zoom events and Zoom sessions. Sorry, it's not available in webinars at the moment. Personally, I hope it never is, because I think it's more of an events package. But the idea is that you set up this event, you can have it recurring. So if David wanted to do a presentation on a particular subject, I don't know how he plays his guitars, he could have that running every Monday at 7 p.m. and he'd do the first recording, would be live, and then from then onwards, it's pre-recorded.
So how do you ask questions?
Ah, that is a fantastic question. And guess what? That was the first thing that people came up with. So we'll add another feature just for you. You can, if you want to, go yourself or sneak an underling into the meeting, and they can answer the questions even while the recording is running. But of course, I know that's not good enough for you. So how about this? This is the next step. When the recording finishes, the meeting used to end. But now you can choose the meeting not to end, and you can take over the meeting. So your presentation that David's going to give on how to play the guitar can explain all the stuff, give you all the training, and then at the very end, David himself can come onto the stage, take over. Whether he wants to admit or not that it was a pre-recording, that's up to him, but he can go on the stage, take over, and talk to the audience on camera, do the Q&A, answer the chat, etc., etc.
You're wearing the same shirt.
If he's not wearing the same shirt, it's amazing how many people don't even notice. But yes, it would be a good idea to wear the same shirt. And that is where...
And the answer to that is continuity.
And does that append the video? So the next time it plays, that's already added to the end.
No, because he's asking the Q&A and he's answering the chat for that particular meeting, so it doesn't carry over.
Oh, come on.
However,
the next people would probably want to ask the same questions.
Well, yes. In that case, you could create a video. You're trying to catch me out here, but I have the answers because I have, and Mike's going to pull it up for me now because you can do it while I'm chatting. We have a publicly available, but not being talked about too much, roadmap of what's going to happen over the next year. And the concept is quite simple, but quite scary. The concept is they're almost creating an automated webinar system, but with lots of interaction. So they've been looking at the interaction pieces like sharing documents, running polls, and all that. And they want to build that into the recording section so that the recording can still deliver your recording. But if you want to add some more interaction like polls and obviously the Q&A and chat you can do it anyhow because you can just hide and answer that. But if you want to run polls, you want to release documents into the meeting, references and things like that, that is all being designed to be put into the system over a great deal of time, including, as you will see there, which Jonas would love to see, but he's gone, and I love to see, they're also talking about APIs. So they're talking about programmatically also being able to enable the system. Now, APIs could be anything. The APIs could be down to if somebody does it, it could be a Stream Deck plugin to allow certain things to happen. We don't know exactly what the detail of all these bullet points are, but there's lots of really interesting things there about branding, video comments, Q&A, internalized content. So you're talking about the idea of having as you say, answering the same question over and over again. Resource, what I like is in March because they've got permissioning, so they're going to work out who's going to do what. Resources, collaboration center for hosts. This could be a whole new product. Oh, and guess what? It's a whole new product. It's like Simulive 2.0. It's going to be another tier. It's going to be another expense, but it's going to be this whole new event production engine. It's like production studio for marketers. And that's why I'm really excited, because this just puts all the other autoplay webinar products, well, you better sell your shares quick before anyone hears about it. It just puts them out of business. This is a really clever system. And if you think of the corporate world, for instance, because we're not all in production world, if you think of the corporate world and the president who wants to give his one speech to the US because it's a US-based company, but still wants Europe, still wants Asia involved, the idea of being able to do it, record it once, play it multiple times, have your vice president deal with the Q&A. You've now got the ability to bring in other content. Maybe there's a clips thing that it seems noticed. So maybe Fred comes up with his clever question, hatches out the VC, but they've got a clip of the answer from somebody else, so they can play the clip and give you the answer there and then. It's all interesting. It's all slightly vague in the fact that we didn't really get a good explanation of what all these bullet points were. But it is very interesting to me how they're just taking this events concept into a completely new place, which will eventually be something that production people will get excited about. Probably we won't get excited about until some of the new features come along, but the ability to run a production when you don't even have to have much of the talent there is a completely new marketplace as far as I'm concerned.
And what's this called again?
Well, it's been talked about as Simulive 2.0. I think that's the way it was phrased, wasn't it, Mike?
Yeah, that's about.
There was very unsubtle hints that it would be another tier of product. It probably wouldn't be Simulive. So Simulive may be given to everybody for free, and then this new product would be a higher price thing. And of course, you've also got that other thing, the content control, which is rolling out. And content control is basically a video hub in Zoom where you can put all your content videos and make them available. And that is really exciting. But for that particular one is they're being very vague and woolly about pricing. How they're going to price it. Is it going to be priced per storage, per views, exactly what the pricing is going to be? And I think that's probably because they're not really sure how they're going to make money, where they're going to make money, and what they need to make the pricing to make it work. I mean, there's certainly not going to be a YouTube because they're not going to be supported by ads. they're probably going to be more of a Vimeo storage, but how that interacts with the other data, I don't know. But video storage only really gets exciting when it goes one of two ways. Either when it becomes a database which you can use to interact with AI, so you can ask questions and it will go and find the video for you that's suitable to the answer, or in the event space where you want to create a library of all these different presentations you do, and you can just use that as an on-demand version of bringing out the same webinars over and over again. I hope that makes reasonable sense.
And for Fred's sake, too, if you're asking, can I do this a meeting or regular webinars? The answer is no. You have to be at least Zoom sessions. John, correct?
Yeah. This is going to be a Zoom events, Zoom sessions product. It's not going to be in normal meetings.
Nor do we see.
I was just curious. I wanted to pass on the name because we have a dedicated Zoom team at BLM that deals with all the Zoom stuff, and I wish they were on here and I could get them to come in on Fridays and ask questions because they're really good. Yeah,
well, it'd be interesting. I can tell them there's other places they can meet up with us and whatever. But I mean, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting year because all the things they're doing, they're expecting to roll out this year. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know if I want to say this. What's the worst that can happen? I did give you my safe harbor statement at the beginning. Okay, right. So there is one piece of jewelry that we like to keep to ourselves, guys, isn't there? You heard of it called Production Studio? Somebody asked if Production Studio could be controlled by a Stream Deck, and I quoted the official line from Zoom, which is, "It's not designed to be that way. It's designed to be a simple way of working." I won't mention his name or her name, but let's just say that a person from Zoom Inc., a Zoom employee, suggested that maybe that would change in the future too.
We could probably
means that person has asked it to change.
It could probably be controlled from OSC, right?
Well, yes. But the whole idea I understood of Production Studio was an easy environment, to create good-looking stuff, so to speak, layouts and whatever, without having to use all the tech we have. And I would be almost concerned if it started getting more techy, because the whole idea to me is it's simple. However, it would be nice if some of those little functions that you do on the screen with a mouse could be reduced maybe to a couple of button clicks on a Stream Deck. Especially now we've got twiddly little knobs, to make those boxes bigger and smaller when you're designing. It'd be quite neat to be able to twiddle the little knob and get it to work for you. But it was suggested that so I take from that they are looking at Production Studio still, and maybe there'll be some new ideas, some new stuff coming through for it, especially now that this Zoom Rooms Pro product seems to be gradually making headways, because that is potentially Zoom OSC on steroids, isn't it? I think that's the best way of saying it.
Yeah, and Fred, if you're familiar with the old, I want to say the Leo Laporte version of Skypeosaurus, where you used to bring Skype in, and then you would have the NewTek model that used to be the Skype model, the Zoom Rooms Pro AV, now renamed Zoom Custom AV. That is basically the equivalent of that unit. Is basically you'll be able to bring in all your Zoom sources into that unit, like Jonas was talking earlier, and then bringing out, via capture card of your choosing. If you need it to be an SDI or an HDMI, then it's based on your capture card of that PC. So that would easily bring your flow into, bringing in remote guests or remote people coming in at any time.
Very nice.
For the broadcast world, again, for the corporate world as well too, when we do a lot of events where all of a sudden that presenter cannot be local and you want to bring it in too, that would be another way of doing it. Then of course there's Zoom Tiles that would give you your IMAG equivalency as well. That David used at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, it's been
And
a
am I
quiet
right?
year on the Zoom events side in a way this year. I think they've just been letting us play with the toys, and now we're starting to see that they've got some feedback and they're now moving forward with the product again, taking it to new levels.
Right. And I think Frank has joined us. Welcome, Frank. And I will put in, oh, I swear I heard somebody there.
He,
I think that was,
he unmuted for just a second, and then he.
oh, that was Frank. Okay, I thought so.
It was
Okay.
Frank.
All right. So again, just to let everybody know on YouTube that definitely, we're taking questions and answers, and we're going to try and give you those answers. Don't forget. So everybody on YouTube, let us know in chat, and I will relay it to everybody here in the panel. And again, it doesn't have to be necessarily specific to Zoom sessions or Zoom events, which of course, John and I met with Josh this week. And also, Fred, that would be a suggestion for your team. If they're looking into getting more into Zoom sessions and Zoom events, Josh's meeting, it used to be every week. John, now we're every 2 weeks?
No, I think it's every 2 weeks, but 1 week we do one thing and 1 week we do another. So it's effectively going to be about once a month.
Right.
Drop a
then
link
the other,
in the
and
chat.
then, sure.
Yeah. And that basically, that team, Josh's team is the specific team that runs and develops the actual Zoom sessions and Zoom events platforms. That's where we get a lot of our scoop on what's coming soon, if not being released. If not, do you want it to be released? Are you looking for it? You're looking for X feature. And again, Josh also does a lot of training. There was earlier today, we actually did training on webinars, John, correct? That was actually, was that a Simulive, or was that him doing a reel?
No, that was him real, but that will be the Simulive. So
Right.
he was recording because I got into the breakout room after. So that was a good example, Fred. So he was actually doing a live presentation, but he was very careful not to refer to any of the chat, and that was because he was going to use that recording as his master to do a Simulive. So it'll be using that recording in the future until he needs to change it for whatever written the message changes or whatever new feature comes out he needs to highlight. Until then, he will use that repeated as his recording. But when the meeting was finished, when the recording that he's going to have, that he was being recording for himself, had finished, he then came into the chat and did the Q&A, and he actually took us all into breakout rooms to have a conversation about the product. Although I couldn't understand why we all need to go into one breakout room, but never mind, maybe there were other breakout rooms. He put all the customers in one and put our troublemakers in the other. That may be possible. I don't know. But yeah, it effectively, once the recording is finished, you can do everything you want to within the Zoom webinar format. And then, so he was real, although we didn't think he was real because he wasn't asking. When he was working so hard and doing his thing, Mike and I were doing most of the chat. We were answering most of the Q&A calls. So yeah, that's Frank's looking worried now because he's now thinking that Zoom community champions have to join in all the webinars. You don't have to, Frank. It's all right. You're not needed. You already do a good job doing what you do. So yeah, we were doing the chat and we were answering the questions while they were being done, while he was running that. Of course, when he does his next one, his presentation will be recorded, so he won't have to do his presentation. He can just sit there in the background and answer all the chat live as it's going, because his other self is reading out the recording that he's just recorded. So he will be recording for future versions of that Simulive, and he will deal with the chat live. He can deal with the Q&A live, and then when his recorded self is finished, he needs to make sure he's wearing the same shirt, and he can come on and take over for himself. And if that makes sense to you, then you're awake this time in the evening. This is good. It's going to get very confusing running Simulive. I promise you, it's going to get very confusing.
Yeah. The version of, just for Frank's sake, because for just joining us, there might be a Simulive 2.0, and that's a working name that John and I have come up with.
Yeah, I was listening on YouTube, so I'm up to speed.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense. I think having more engagement during the SimuLive section, like if they can automate polls and stuff, it'll make people feel like more like it's a live event, right?
Yeah.
You
And if
definitely
you're going
confused
to
us.
say
Know
share
that.
a document and you can't share the document automatically during the SimuLive, it looks rather silly because you say I'm sharing a document and there's no document there. It's a bit obvious that it's just a recording.
Could you put a link in the chat? I can't tell if you're saying Simly Live or Simply Live.
SimuLive, simulator live.
SIMU,
SIMU.
simulated live.
Gotcha.
And if you have a Zoom sessions or a Zoom events license, you can go in there, say I want to create a webinar, and one of the options is to do a SimuLive.
We used to do oh, sorry.
No, carry on.
We used to do a town hall for new hires every Monday morning, and it was the exact same speech every Monday morning until the Q&A section happened. So it would be a perfect opportunity for something like that where you're going to give the same presentation over and over again. Why not just record it once, answer questions in the background in the chat, and then when the SimuLive recording is over, come on live, like in real life, and actually take questions from the audience.
And there's even an emergency switch as well. So you can actually take over anywhere, anytime you like. So if halfway through the video, the chat's blowing up and nobody's understanding what you said because you put the wrong video in or you've said something which confused everybody and the chat's gone wild, you can just take over from the recording, effectively stop the recording and take over live. So you can take over from yourself whenever you like.
Yeah. The only caveat that I suggested to Josh was that it wasn't a hard cut, but it currently is a hard cut right now. But I suggest at least a fade of some sort, but to be determined at this particular point. But it definitely will look like bullet because it will stop it hard. All right. As the quietness comes over the room.
I have a question.
Absolutely, Frank.
Maybe for John, although John doesn't have to take it on if he doesn't want to. Something I would like to see developed for Zoom is, and there are already other ways to do this. There are other products that do this, but I would like to have chat macros where you get asked the same question all the time, like what's your email address or what are your store hours or what was that thing you said? Right now, what I do is I keep a Word document open with hyperlinks and stuff, and I copy and paste them. But I mean, it'd be nice to hit the function F2 key and have it paste my phone number, or function F3 could be my mailing address or whatever the content that you need for these chat macros is. How hard would that be to code up?
That actually would be reasonably easy. That would be reasonably easy.
The workaround that I know of in Windows that I'm currently using would be hotkeys, but again, it's a third-party app that it knows that I'm just saving, certain hotkeys, and then
Sure,
it's got
you could probably do it in Stream Deck with macros, but for a lot of people, they want things built into Zoom so they don't have to, use 75 different products, right?
Right, and I know that through Zoom OSC, John or Fred, correct me if I'm wrong on this one too, because you guys, again, I'm not a Zoom OSC guy, but I know that back in the day, Jeff and actually David, I think, still has this implemented on his, is that he will actually send text to chat through Zoom OSC to let you know that you're next up. So it's there. It must be in Zoom OSC, so it must be in the SDK or API of some sort.
It's in there, but it's actually hard to find. And the only reason it's hard to find is because there's multiple versions of chat. There's chat in the meeting, there's group chat, there's all these different chat parts in Zoom. But if you find the right...
well, I'm sure chat macros could be useful in all the different types of Zoom chats. If you have to give repetitive information and you don't want to type it every time and you don't want to copy paste from a Word document like I do, it'd be nice to just have a small cheat sheet on my screen and say, oh, that's F7 and after a while you'd probably remember most of them, but depends how many you have.
Yeah, that's not too difficult. Jonas is going to do something like that, Mike. You get a free voice app thrown in, then, wouldn't you?
Semi true. Frank, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure if you were catching Jonas's demonstration of space comms earlier.
That's sort of when I tuned in when he was doing his space comms stuff and the stream deck on the network or whatever it was.
Yeah. Yet to be determined. They haven't come up with it. Yes, the PoE based product that will do a USB to PoE, USB to Ethernet with some brains inside it. That Ethernet will also be PoE.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, definitely does. I could see the production world definitely use that because it won't necessarily need to be tied per se to, if I'm at front of house as an example, and I know a lot of people at front of house will use Stream Decks, and I know they're using Companion because they'll control their audio mixer. What they will actually do is have the buttons already pre-queued per song, let's say, if it's a musical act, and they want to be able to call up certain songs because they've already got the settings set in the audio mixer. But now, right now, they have to have a PC hooked up to that Stream Deck at front of house just to sit there for Companion, where this actual unit could actually be wherever on the network in that local venue now. And, the Stream Deck, as long as you've got enough, again, with it being PoE, you just have to make sure it's on a PoE switch, and that Stream Deck can now be powered anywhere.
Well, why not take it to the next level and go Stream Deck wireless, like Stream Deck Wi-Fi?
Yeah. Again, yeah, true. But again, what's going to have to be, because the way Jonas explained it is that it's very much like it's not like the regular Stream Deck where the Companion is expecting commands. The traffic is different, right? It's the same like the studio model. The brains in the studio model is also going to be the same brains as in this model, so that it's using some different. Jonas made the comment of protocol, and I'll stick with that word. That's being used for those models. But again, it's still going to have the capabilities of talking to Companion, but you would just need Companion running somewhere on the network, but you just have to make sure that your IP can talk to it.
Stream Deck's not pushing tons and tons of data. I mean,
no.
If you've got Companion on a PC somewhere, why can't the Stream Deck be untethered?
Well, it can right now. The only way you can get around that right now with the actual physical Stream Deck is using the Companion satellite software.
Yeah, no, I know that. What I'm saying is, so power over the Ethernet, because the Stream Deck needs power. But if it had a battery and it had a Wi-Fi antenna, and why couldn't it be Stream Deck wireless?
Sure. I'm thinking that, well, coming from the hardware world, again, additional certifications on the Wi-Fi by default, but taking that into consideration, again, you would have to make sure it's big enough for a lithium battery inside that's chargeable.
It doesn't have to necessarily be on the inside. Like I heard the part where they were saying Stream Deck's going to sell modules now that aren't inside of the plastic case. Why couldn't you have a different exterior plastic molded case that accommodated a battery?
You could do that with a Raspberry Pi.
Or you could just do it. You could do it with, if you had, let's say you had multiple panels, you could get a PoE, like a 4-port PoE switch, for example. You had 2 or 3 panels, 4-port PoE switch, and then uplink that out to an AP. Put it on your network.
The reason I'm thinking this is, like, you've probably seen this or done this yourself. Like, lots of times I've got an audio mixer, and then I get an iPad, and I'm controlling the mixer so I can hear the sound from inside the auditorium. So, I'm sliding faders up and down over the wireless. Usually we have a separate wireless network that's only for production, not the one that people can check their email on. So that's a separate wireless network. Why couldn't you have your Stream Deck be portable and walk around and press those macro buttons if it had an external, lithium battery and it was on the private Wi-Fi network? I've just given 2 ideas away to the universe that someone's going to make millions of dollars on.
It's not.
Frank, I had exactly the same thought when he said the you can create the case, because I've got a big box of Raspberry Pis, which is what it used to what satellite can run on. So yeah, stick a Raspberry Pi in the box and put a battery in it, and I can walk around the room wirelessly, and I've got my controls.
It is the equivalent of, yes, you could actually do a Raspberry Pi scenario right now, and of course, Companion, the actual server, can also run on a Raspberry Pi too. So in theory, you could actually have it going from a Raspberry Pi to a Raspberry Pi on the local network, because all you'd have to do is make sure you have a satellite on the one Raspberry Pi that's actually connected to the Stream Deck. And then, of course, you'd need that other Raspberry Pi to be the server. Yes, traffic-wise, yes, minimal, yes. There is international certifications that come into play when it comes to Wi-Fi, so that might be a bit of a limiting concern when you get into the wireless stuff.
There's Wi-Fi on a chip. Just buy one of the Wi-Fi on a chip. Like Apple doesn't make its own modems. They in the phone. It's Motorola or whoever it is. Like you don't have to make everything from scratch, right?
Absolutely. But again, because of the fact of governmental laws, depending on the country, I will go down that road. Certifications will vary, and frequencies being used in certain countries will vary. Of course, Ethernet was the quickest because it's wired, so it's guaranteed that the data is going to travel, where the potential of wireless could cause that extra headache. Do we put it on 2.4? Do we put it on 5 gigahertz? Do we put it on 6 gigahertz? It doesn't need to be any better than the 2.4, but
I can see resistance to going Wi-Fi on a production piece of gear too, but I mean,
looks like it's already done. Did you see the link in the chat?
No, I didn't check. No, I didn't check it. Yeah, this is on your mobile device, right? Some people really want that tactile sensation of clicking that button, and Glass doesn't give you that really. Even the Stream Deck's not the same as broadcast equipment. Like when I press a Stream Deck button, it's not the same as when I'm pressing a button on a piece of broadcast gear that has a latch function and the button sticks. Like it's not exactly the same on a Stream Deck. It's it's good, but it's not the same as a lot of the switchers and things I've used. You press it soft and that activates whatever the button's going to do. You press it hard and it stays in a mode until you press it hard again.
Yeah, no, there's definitely, you're right, Frank, and this has been a bit of a dilemma that's been out there too. Of course, if you don't want to use a Stream Deck, you could always use an X Keys model as well, and that is a little more closer to a broadcast button. It's again, the infamous Stream Decks, when Elgato made them, by default, of course, they were not even contemplating production world at all. This was only supposed to be for streaming people and officially gaming people officially. So we've just blown we've blown the Zoom product up to being in the production world, and that was supposed to be the generic meeting in the beginning. This is the Stream Decks as well has been pushed right beyond that too, and where it's now fully in the production world. And there are obviously competitors to Companion, but that's why Elgato has actually gotten into the studio mode, studio product, as well as this soon to be determined named PoE dongle for a Stream Deck. I guess I have no idea.
I think it's cool. I'm not shooting it down. I just said the next logical step to me would be like go untethered, but sure, all in good time, right?
All in good time, absolutely. And yeah, and John brings up Loop Deck. I'm familiar with those guys as well, and they have more tactile in the broadcast world, but again, Loop Deck comes from the broadcast world as well. And there's a couple other. There's also trying to remember the other name. I remember the technology he calls it the blue pill, and I'm trying to remember who actually makes that. The company name. It'll come to me. Any questions from our YouTube audience? Do let us know in chat, and I will relay it to our panelists. And yes, anybody watching, John makes a good point. if you're thinking of making a product like this, I know a good person that will test it for you. Send it to Frank. Yeah, absolutely. Frank will be all ears because he'll definitely want to play with it. Absolutely. I know that. And actually, anybody on the Zoom Test Kitchen group would love to play with it. I'll vouch for everybody, including David that's not with us right now. Absolutely.
If you had a portable Stream Deck, what would you use it for? I can think of one thing I would use it for, but
I've got my ideas. I'm curious about from Fred's usage of his day-to-day stuff, what he would do it with it.
Well, I'm an audio guy, so buttons don't mean anything to me. I do faders.
Right. So even using the Stream Deck that has the dials, let's just throw that one in there for curiosity's sake.
They have a Stream Deck with dials? I didn't know that.
They do. Yes, they do. Yeah,
you probably wouldn't like it though.
Yeah, it's only minimal buttons, but it's also got 4 dials, so you could actually.
But I believe the dials spin to infinity. They don't have a hard stop at, like, let's say you get to 10, they don't stop at 10. You can keep rotating as much as you want. So I know on pots and stuff, like if I'm using a pot, I'd like it when the pot stops. I don't like the pot that just goes around and around forever.
Yeah, well, unfortunately today on digital consoles, that's how they work. They're what do they call them? They're not pots anymore.
No, I know. Whatever they're called now.
Whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a fader that kept going forever. That'd be weird, right?
Yeah, definitely weird. Definitely weird.
Infinite fader.
Yeah, to infinity and beyond. Oh yeah, it'll be infinity, all right. It's called what Jonas was having problems with earlier. You hear me now? Okay, yeah, exactly. But basically, Frank asked the question, so I'll give my opinion on it. On the, it would allow for me to, depending on the setup, if I was in my audio mode doing front of house, then it would definitely take away having a PC at front of house for me. Now, if I did have a PC at the front of house, it wouldn't be necessary. But if I wasn't, then that would be beneficial for me to send it back to my racks that are back on stage, in back of stage hiding. So I would have less at front of house. If I'm in video tech world, it wouldn't be a bad thing to actually have a Stream Deck that it was a tad portable. And I'm used that loosely because there is that Ethernet cable still. As long as I had a long enough Ethernet cable from my rack of gear to where I was in the back, or if I was at the front of, so again, yes, in this case, with this unit, it's Ethernet either way will be my limiting factor. So I can't go just anywhere. But again, I've still got to stay within Wi-Fi range of that unit too. So that also comes into play if I was using an equivalent of that was Wi-Fi. So if I was a video tech, I don't know if I would see a usefulness of the wirelessness of it. But again,
maybe if you were doing if you're doing PTZs or something, and maybe you're walking around in the audio. Anytime you want to be in the house and not in the control booth, there's times. But I mean, there's already iPad stuff that does all that.
Right.
The only difference I think is you get a little more tactile feedback from the Stream Deck. I mean, haptics work on glass, but I don't know.
Yeah, and you're right, where I could actually just walk around with an iPad that's logged into the browser version of Companion, which everybody keeps forgetting about, that actually that can be done. And I know myself, I keep forgetting that it's also there too. That you get any unit, any phone, anything that can use a browser can actually hook up to Companion, and you would actually see the same button layout as you would on the physical Stream Deck unit. So that's where, if I really needed something Wi-Fi based, then fine. That would be the workaround for that for now. I think this is coming out because the broadcasters have given the feedback to Elgato and BitFocus that they wanted to have a non-rack mountable unit because everybody's already paid the expense of actually, I wish my Stream Deck was, and this was the answer to that, take the best of the studio world that is in the rack mount and bring it to the already made stream decks. And then if you know what you're doing, then you can make your own customized stream deck. Instead of buying 5, you just buy the 5 panels and put it in one long case that you would 3D print yourself.
I'm with you, Frank. I'm not a glass guy.
Yeah, audio, audio mixer for me, I still can't. Analog or digital, I still can't. I need to touch that fader. So yeah, I'm either that or I'm using a DAW, a hard DAW of some sort, a DAW controller of some sort, MIDI controller of some sort that's still calling that I've still got the physical.
We bought a few of those mixers where it's a physical mixer, but the iPad slides inside of it, and those are kind of weird. I wasn't really into it.
Is that the QSC ones?
I can't remember. I haven't used them last time I touched one was before the pandemic, but it was interesting. But
QSC has the touch mix models. Fred, you're familiar with those. You're nodding. Yeah.
I'm not familiar with them, but I've seen the documentation on them.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are basically, they look like an iPad built into a console. And yes, I know, again, for the people that are using the Digicos and starting to get into the big, into the larger concert models, that yes, you have a lot of touch screens now, but you still have your physical faders on the bottom, but you still have a lot of touch screens as well.
But even back in the day, like I was using, I think, LS9s and Presonus, and they were starting to have touch capabilities on the top of the mixer, right? It was starting to be a thing back then.
Yeah. Yeah. Fred, you use which brand?
Mainly Calrec.
Yeah, the Calrecs. Yeah. The models that you're using, they do have the touch screen for the effects and such, or no?
No. Well, I take that back. The Brio, the Suma, it's all touchscreen driven. It sucks. I hate it. But no, usually the consoles are the Artemis, Apollo, real faders with real consoles with real faders. But yeah, the Brio's not bad, but my skin just doesn't work with glass. I have to hit things 2 or 3 times. I don't know what it is. Some people can just do it. And glass mixers, for me, you can only touch one fader at a time. My first exposure to a glass mixer was at the Olympics, and I'm like, okay, I want to mix, and I can't. You can only move one fader at a time. You put 2 fingers on the screen, it doesn't know what to do. It just stops. So, yeah, I don't like glass.
Does not compute. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that again, that has been one of my concerns too, and I never wanted to go down that road with even doing stuff myself on events. So, Frank, anything new and exciting this week that happened with you? Did anything break of Zoom? I didn't. I do want to bring this up. Did anybody get affected by the YouTube outage this week?
I didn't.
I think I did put that in our Discord server, and just for our YouTube audience, if you haven't joined our Discord server, I do have the link to our zoomtestkitchen.com link in the chat. So if you go to that, you should be able to link to our Discord server. And from there, you'll keep up to date on what I'm talking about. Actually, I actually posted it live. I'm trying to remember if it was Wednesday, Thursday of this week, that there was actually a bit of an outage that any Zoom event could not broadcast to YouTube, and they were investigating that. So it was down for about an hour. They did get it rectified. I don't know what they did. They did not report what they did, but it was resolved. But definitely, I let everybody know in Discord when I ended up getting those reports. From
What kind of a
Zoom
Zoom license do you have? Do you just have like a Zoom Pro or Zoom
For
Business?
us, I've never. Yeah, for us, for our business, I've never needed anything more than Pro.
All right. If you get a higher level of license, you can ask for an RCA, which will explain what happened. Root cause analysis.
Yeah, we weren't directly affected. It was more of I ended up getting the bulletin about it So I made sure that everybody knew in Discord that I didn't want Discord to start blowing up going, anybody
Yeah, but
is YouTube working?
was it Zoom's fault or YouTube's fault too? You know, like there's that too, right?
Right. Yeah. Again,
Or
the
AWS or something else, who knows, right?
right. Yeah. Again, the status was, yeah, the status did not,
Zoom's not really forthcoming on their outage page. Like they'll tell you that
right.
there's an outage. They'll tell you when they've kind of got an idea of what it is, and they'll tell you when it's fixed, but they won't really tell you what happened behind the scenes unless you've got a big enough Zoom license that you can reach out to your account manager and say, I want an RCA. Otherwise, you're not really going to find out what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. But it definitely wasn't as bad as the Facebook scenario, which I still haven't heard if actually that has been
Oh,
rectified or
I
not.
have some Zoom news.
Oh, go right ahead, Frank.
It's not really Zoom's news, but it's related. You know, the Facebook portal's being phased out by Meta, by Facebook, right?
Well, I know that there was cutbacks into Portal. Hold on, let me clarify that. Portal. I also heard Portal was actually a physical unit too.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm talking about.
okay, go ahead.
So I have one. Anyways, each week now, like it's on a death watch basically. So it used to do you could do a whole bunch of different kind of things with a Facebook portal. There were different services, but because Meta's declared it end of life, they haven't been updating the APIs or doing anything. So a lot of the companies, including Zoom, have said we're not supporting it anymore because they're not keeping it up to date, and it's going out of out of spec or whatever with whatever the current APIs and SDKs are. So
Right.
people's Zoom accounts stopped working on their Facebook portals recently, as along with other companies, Spotify and other things you could do on your Facebook portal. And I saw some heat in the community forums about that. People were blaming Zoom, and it's not Zoom's fault. But Zoom always gets blamed for everything when people don't understand the relationships, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that was again, as Frank said, it's related to the API calls that probably was going through from the actual units to Zoom and such. Absolutely. SDK probably thrown in there for free too. Why not? But yeah, no, what I initially thought you were talking about for Facebook portal was that Facebook has been made a lot of changes where you can live stream to the Facebook platform itself.
I meant the physical hardware. I have one. I bought one when they first came out, and I just want to see it. It acts like a Zoom room, and you can hook up to your TV or whatever, and you can sit on your couch and have a conversation with whoever on Zoom. And the way it's kind of an appliance, so it acted like a Zoom room. Give you a Zoom room license.
But okay, so here's the other scenario: is that so it in the actual in your actual account, Frank, it showed up as a Zoom room.
It does. I can see people who have joined my account and set up their Facebook portals, and they show up as little mini Zoom rooms. They're not, I don't like, it's hard to understand for me at least. I don't know. They seem like they're lesser than rooms, but they're considered a room, but they're not like a real Zoom room with a certified Zoom room computer and a touch panel and all that. But they seem to live in that side of the Zoom admin area. They're not, I don't know, because they're an appliance, I guess that's why, right?
Right. So again, anything that's an appliance, they threw into a Zoom room-ish type of designation. So I'm curious now. So is it actually that? So with buying the portal, it became as if it was a Zoom room. Does that give you and don't want to use the term, but I'll use it anyways, free Zoom room license?
Basically, it couldn't do everything a real Zoom room could do, but in the admin panel of your Zoom admin area, that's where they populated. And it seemed like I never did, but it seemed like you could put restrictions as an admin on them. You could force, like, these are personal devices that belong to just individuals, but you could put restrictions or force updates. You could do a lot to people's individual, but they're also joining your Zoom account. Like, you could put a caveat, like if you're going to put your Zoom appliance on our account, you have to live under our rules or don't do it. But if you have a Zoom family license or something like a pro license and you buy a Zoom portal or a Facebook portal back in the day and you stick it in your living room, and you looked into your own account, it would show up as an appliance, I guess, in the Zoom room area.
So
Anyways,
Facebook,
so a lot of people are mad because Facebook portals have the ability, one of the things, I guess they had like sort of like Alexa skills. You could talk to them and say, grandma could call, her grandchildren and not know how Zoom works and just say, call Timmy, and it would just call Timmy, and now that's gone. So people are upset.
so what is Facebook doing? We don't know. They're just
Going-
discontinuing. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, they've decided to go in a different direction.
So all the units out there are going to become basically useless.
There's a petition going around. I think someone figured out how many Facebook portals they sold, and they figured out how much e-waste that is. And it's a lot of e-waste, and there's a petition not to allow Facebook should keep them useful in some way, or they're just going to go to landfills.
Right. Or now it becomes the open source world.
People have
need to-
petitioned Facebook to make the portal whatever open source so people could develop for it, but so far there's been no response from Facebook that I've seen about that.
Okay. John, I saw you nodding a few times. Do you actually have a Facebook portal as well?
Yeah, I got one. And
You're in the same boat then.
No, I was
a basic version.
I was reading that so far in England, this was a few days ago, they were still fully functional in England, but you know how companies have servers globally and they don't necessarily turn it off all in like one fell swoop. Sometimes it gets staggered across the difference. So I don't know what's going to happen. And also the EU has different laws in America and Canada, so I'm not sure what will happen depending on your region of the world you live in.
Okay. So again, yeah. So John, you have a portal, right?
Yep, I have a portal. I haven't used it for a while. Yeah, I mean, it's another one of those Facebook projects that they've just left by the wayside, and it's just withering.
So is yours still functional? Do you know? I know you probably haven't used it maybe in a while.
I haven't used it this year, so I don't know if it's functioning.
Yeah, understood.
It was a clever device, and there's definitely a market for that. That simple level of device, functional. Very simple.
There's a question in the chat that maybe Mike, you could answer it best.
All right.
How do we get on the Zoom Test Kitchen Discord?
Oh, yes. Again, for Fred and for everybody on YouTube, I will say it again. So if you go to zoomtestkitchen.com, and on there, you'll actually see the Discord logo, and just click onto there. And as long as you've already established yourself on Discord, and you already have a Discord account, it should walk you through the process of being able to connect up to our server. And then you can add, and you'll see all the different channels for all the, in there, you'll see, we've set specific channels for Zoom OSC, Zoom ISO, Zoom Rooms, Zoom Custom AV. We also have a vMix channel. We also have announcements channel. The co-hosts have their own channel. So there are many different, if you're looking for specific information or want to talk about a specific problem related to Zoom, then definitely choose the right channel, and then you'll be able to ask that question in the channel. You're able to find it, Fred? All good? Oh, John, yes?
Breaking news.
Uh-oh.
I can announce that I am February's pinup of the month. Yes, I am February's Zoom Community Champion Spotlight.
There you go. I got asked. I said no.
So it's great to be the second choice.
Well, it wasn't necessarily for this month. I kind of keep a low profile on the internet, so I didn't want to draw attention to myself.
Yeah.
You draw your attention to yourself, Frank, every time I give an answer, and then you thumb me up and kick me off and make me the answer. I wouldn't have been number 4 this month if it hadn't been for your support. So thank you for that.
I've been busy, so I haven't been doing as much Zoom community stuff, but I chip in here and there.
Excellent. Excellent. Yes. So again, the Zoom community. Yes. So Frank's in there, Ray's in there, John's in there. I get in there every once in a while when I can. So if you do have any questions and you want to put it into the Zoom forums or Zoom community, go right ahead. And that's on, let me grab that URL and I'll put that in chat. That is community.zoom.com.
If you're a Zoom admin, and let's say you're managing Zoom for a group of people, it's also a great place to see where there may be some friction either with how Zoom works, or maybe there's been a change in the behavior of Zoom that your users haven't complained about yet, but you can kind of forecast the storm coming. So I go in there also just to read and see what people are upset about this week or what they're happy about. And that way I get a sense of maybe what's coming my way.
Yeah, Frank already warning himself that he might have a preemptive strike on a certain feature that might have broken and he hasn't been told about it yet, but yet other people are complaining about it and he's about to go.
Sometimes you don't know something's changed until someone complains that it's not working the way it used to. I
Yeah.
really wish Zoom's release notes would indicate somehow in the release notes what's different than the week before, because lots of times it's really hard to see where the changes are because they don't highlight them or point them out. So you read the release notes from 2 weeks in a row and they look identical. I know Ray puts them into some sort of software that points out the changes, but sometimes they're very minuscule changes.
Have you guys had good luck in the using the AI portion in the support? There's a question for everybody. I have not.
Say that. What are you? I didn't
Yeah,
understand it.
so when you do an actual search in support, in the support documentation,
Right.
AI information I get back is usually weird.
Here's what I'll say about Zoom AI chat support and also their knowledge base. If you don't have the proper vocabulary, like if you don't know the exact terms you're looking for, your results that you get back are much worse than if you actually know the lingo. You can dance around trying to find the answer if you don't know the specific terminology that Zoom uses.
Yeah, because I was trying earlier today during the webinar with Josh and John and there was a lady that actually asked us about what format of resolution and such should she use for her videos. And I wanted to double check that I was right about saying 1080p 60 and an MP4 video. And I tried to put that into support and it just gave me back, oh, you want to share a video?
You mean
Great.
to play a video in a Zoom meeting?
No, John,
No.
you remember her question? I think it was related to the Simulive, wasn't it? Or no?
Generally speaking, Zoom supports MOV and MP4. And they don't support any other codecs really for that sort of thing.
She was asking for the screen size of the output.
Yeah, because initially she was concerned about file size, and I was telling her, well, file size is more license based, but actually Josh did actually answer that for file size, and there was.
Yeah, the file size is supposed to be 5 gig.
Yeah.
But the catch is, if you're going to download a video from Zoom, you probably want to put it through a compression program because that'll bring the size down dramatically, and then you can upload it.
Yeah.
But 5 gig is an all-day meeting.
Yeah, Zoom already compresses the videos you download, so they're not uncompressed. So they're already MP4s. They're not.
Yeah. So yeah. I wouldn't necessarily compress it even.
Frank, I think you may have a better experience than us because I think there's a bit more work because they haven't rolled out all the new formats all the way through the system yet, as I know. So I think the corporates do get a much better video version than we get at the moment.
Yeah. I don't know specific details about that other than the videos are 1080p, H.264.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the bit rate. I'd have to go look, but
But if you've got presentations which have lots of slideshows on them, you can get a reasonable return on handbrake for all that space that never got used second by second.
If you turn on in the cloud recordings, if you turn on the make this recording compatible with third-party editors, you get a bigger file size, but you get I think you get 30 frames per second instead of 25 frames per second. I know in Europe, 25 frames per second is common, but in North America, it's 30 frames per second.
Yeah. Again, it's versus it's based. A lot of it is based on the hertz, and Fred, I guess that you would be perfect.
Mike, don't try and make it sound technical. We got faster electricity than you. That's what it comes down to. Our electricity is faster.
Really?
50 hertz instead of 60 hertz.
Yep. 50 hertz versus 60 hertz.
Why can't we all just get along? PAL and CCOM and NTSC. It's just
and ATSC, and then we have an
such a
ATSC
weird
3.0, and yeah.
I do like the fact that Europe's all on one standard for audio. It's all 0 dBm. There's no balanced, unbalanced, +4, -10. None of that shit. It's all the same.
I'm so relieved you got something right.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I had a little glitch there. I don't know if anybody knows that or not on my end, but I'm back. Okay. So any other questions from YouTube? I'll make that the official last call before we wrap this up for this week. Let us know in YouTube chat.
Well, I would like to make a declaration. I have just acquired a corporate license, one-off, as part of a package a friend of mine has. And I will now have access to a 1,000 Zoom sessions license. But the thing that's interesting is I'm also being given basic CMS, which is their new content management hub for putting videos up to share with everybody. And I would just like to declare that the basic CMS is described as, drum roll please, 300 unique viewers per month.
That's
Now,
pretty low.
I'm a little bit concerned that they give me a license where I can have 1,000 people to the event, but only 300 people in a month can actually watch any of the videos.
Cha-ching.
Yeah. So I don't think I'll be making much use of that feature just for now. Thank you, guys.
Right. And John, this is related to 2.0, correct? Or no? Did I do that right?
This is the video sharing, and this is their Vimeo video storage, Amazon video storage, new product, CMS.
Okay.
So you upload some videos on there, and then people can watch them in between your events, or you can add them as whatever. But there are videos you can post up there. They would quite often be events, and people can watch it on demand effectively rather than sitting there and waiting for the day that you run the Simulive. But I just thought it was interesting that it's 300 viewers, unique viewers a month. Or at least people can watch it twice. And
I can relate. We have an enterprise account, and I can turn Zoom clips on. I haven't, because I think I'm going to get the number wrong. It's either 5 or 2 clips per user. What good are 2 clips? Like, why turn that service on if you can only have 2 clips, right? Like, what's the point?
Yeah, because again, you're limiting yourself down to these 2 clips, and then that's it. What if you make a,
Well,
if you
I'm
make,
sure
let's
that
say,
I'm sure
one
they'll
clip a
sell
week?
you more for a price, or now they have Enterprise Plus. If you want unlimited clips, you have to get an Enterprise Plus license.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's enough to see how the system works, but not enough to make it really usable.
So
It's enough to get people saying, I want this, I want this, I want this, and you go, we don't have the money to get this, and then they're all upset. So I just recommended, and we decided that what's the point of turning it on if it's just going to cause angst. But Zoom hosting just seems to be a big profit center for Zoom. Their video hosting, like they make so much money off of it.
Yeah, either that or they don't know how to. It's either costing them too much infrastructure, or something. Because
I
it
think
makes
it's
no
deliberate.
sense.
Just like you can't bulk download your collection. There's a reason for that. That's called lock-in, right? Like I'm not, this is just supposition, but yeah.
There's no reason for them to really be cost effective for now, because until there's a really good business reason for wanting to have all the videos on there, I'm not going to move them off an existing supplier anyhow. So I can put up with the fact I can't afford it because there's no reason to use it. But if they get to this point where they can get all the AI to work with it, so I can, for instance, do an AI question about, when did Jonas attend Zoom Test Kitchen, and it can go back through all the recordings, or well, it doesn't even need the recordings, does it? All the transcripts, and find that person and say that he appeared on these dates and these dates. There is really no justification for me to use it. Sorry, Zoom, but at the moment I have no reason to make use of that particular feature. But it won't stop me using lots. I won't be running. I won't be short in running events. I'll be running lots of events in the next month. Simulives, lives, and
So John, just for my sake, again to clarify, 1,000 live.
Okay, so let me go back a step because people will probably not understand this. So I'm in Zoom Events. If I go to my Zoom Events portal, one thing they've added, which I really, really appreciate, because I'm not the account holder in this case, is at the very, very bottom of that list, there is now a little tab which says Plan Details. And so within the account that you're logged into, you don't have to be the owner. With an account that you're logged into, you can click on that little Plan Details at the bottom, and it gives you an overview of what you have. So in my case, I've got a 1,000 Zoom sessions unlimited license, which means I can run an unlimited number of Zoom sessions during a month, as long as they don't overlap, because I can't run 2 at a time. And I can run that for up to 1,000 people. I also have, and it shows me, as we've been just talking about, I've got the ability to have the CMS for 300 unique visitors per month for the videos. And then it tells me everything else I can have. So how many unlicensed hosts I can have, so I can have extra hosts to run the meeting. How many licensed hosts, which is unlimited, but that would mean I'd have to pay for another subscription. So that's why that's unlimited. Number of co-editors, number of add-ons, number of editors. So I've got all the details on exactly what I can have within that hub, which is good, because when this product first came out, you didn't know that. You only knew that if you were the owner of the whole account, and you could go in and look at the provisioning and get the details there. So that's an improvement. But yeah, some of the numbers don't make sense.
Yeah, because I'm still trying to get my head around the only 300 number, because you would think that the potential of people coming back after the event is finished because they couldn't attend live could potentially even be higher than at live.
I'm sure they'll let you have more if you pay more.
Yeah. But I feel, as a marketing person, that number is so low that I won't dare use it at all. If it was equal to my 1,000 unlimited license, I would probably be tempted to use it. but it's too low a number that, as we said, if too many people turn up, I'm going to get overages straight away, and which is a big problem when I'm not the account holder either. I expect there's rules on overages here as well, because if you're the account holder and you hand out these Zoom events licenses, and they all get basic CMS and they all overuse it, and then you've got overage bills from all your users from all over the place, that could be troublesome.
Could be very expensive.
It could be, and I will probably be going back to the person that I'm working with who's given me this license within his system and suggest he turns that bit off so that he doesn't get a bill suddenly appear out of thin air.
Yeah, I fully understand that, and I totally agree. Okay, so last call has went out to YouTube land, and everybody is very, very quiet, even though we do have people still watching us. So thank you again for joining us this week, and we will do my best to sign us off here. And let me see if this works. And it did. Look at that, guys. It worked. All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to let YouTube know how much you like our content. And don't forget, we're here every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. And don't forget to let everybody, and don't forget to like and subscribe, as I said, and see everyone next week for another edition of the Zoom Test Kitchen, where you'll never know what we're cooking up in the kitchen.